Good morning. Can everyone hear me okay? Back? Okay, my name is Lindsay Bailey French, and I'm an attorney here at the Association of Arkansas Counties. We're so excited that you can join us here. It's been about 3 years since we've been able to host the fine collection seminar. We thought we were going to have to do it via Zoom again, but luckily we were able to do this in person, and I think everyone just gets a lot more out of it. There's a book in the back, the fresh off the press, updated 2022 Fine Collection Guidebook. Hope you all got one of those. If you didn't, feel free to go grab one off the back table. We are recording this today, so I'm going to ask everyone to keep side conversations to a minimum. If you need to have a conversation, please just go out in the hallway. You're willing to wander around all you want. Mark will be out there wandering around as well. So also, because we are recording, I'm going to ask that you save your questions for the end of each speaker's segment. So each speaker will do their presentation, and then if you can save your questions, write it down so you don't forget, and save your questions for the end, and we'll come around with a microphone so everyone can hear your questions. And I'm going to hand it off to Cagney Kilborough. She is our law clerk here at the Association of Counties. She's attending Bowen Law School, and we're so proud to have Cagney here with us today, and let's all give her a warm welcome.
Hello, everyone. Like Lindsay said, my name is Cagney, and I really appreciate you guys coming out on this rainy Wednesday to join us. What better day to talk about fine collection? And as you can see, we're already having some technical difficulties, but we are going to just power on through. So the first thing that I thought we could talk about is just a general overview of fine collections. So fine versus fee, what is the difference? So I know sometimes people like to use these words interchangeably, but the language is important and they do actually mean different things. So fines are intended to be a punishment or a deterrence, and fees are a payment for service intended to raise revenue. So that language is important because in some of these statutes that you'll see in your fine collection guidebook, there is a prohibition on, for example, additional fees, but that doesn't necessarily mean there's a prohibition on additional fines and vice versa. So that language is important. So fines in Arkansas. The authority to collect fines is found in Arkansas Code 1613-709. And that's in your guidebook as well. And so what does it mean to be delinquent? Well, the Arkansas Code defines delinquent as fines that have not been paid as ordered for 90 days or 3 payments, 3 consecutive payments. That means a fine is delinquent. So under that statute, the quorum court of each county is to designate by ordinance the entity responsible for the collection of delinquent fines. And that can look a little bit different in each county, depending on how that ordinance is set up. So that brings us to the distribution of fines in circuit court. So this is a little bit of a long slide. I apologize to you guys there in the back. All this information is in your fine collection guidebook if you're not able to see it. But 1613-709 addresses the distribution of fines in circuit court. And so each of those fines go to the administration of justice funds. And there is an administration of justice fund for each county and each state respectively. And so the administration of justice fund is used to defray expenses, and there's a long list, but it's things like the county jail fund, prosecuting attorney fund, the public defender indigent defense fund, and certain things like that. So those are just some examples of what those fines in circuit court and where they go. So here, and like I said, these are small numbers, I apologize, but the AOC provided us with some interesting numbers. These are updated for 2019 through 2021 of fines that were assessed in district court and then those collected. And I'm sure it's not a surprise to anyone in this room that the fines that are typically assessed that number is much, much higher than what is actually collected. But that's what we're here today for, to hopefully get those numbers more in balance. So that's just a neat little slide for your information there. Okay, that brings us to installment payments. And so this presentation is just like a quick and dirty overview of this stuff. We have an amazing line of speakers today that's going to go further into all of these topics in case you have any more questions. But 1613-704 provides that courts may authorize installment payments if it concludes that the defendant, if the defendant were to pay the fine in one installment, that it would cause a quote severe and undue hardship for that defendant or any of the defendant's dependents. And so if that determination is made and the defendant is to pay the fine in installments, an installment fee of $5 per month can be assessed upon that defendant. And so the court still requires that these fines be paid in full by a certain date. And that date is determined as soon as reasonably possible, without creating that same undue hardship on the defendant. And so it's important to note that this fee does still accrue for each month that the defendant does not make an installment payment, but still owes money. And 1/2 of this installment fee is collected in circuit court, and that goes toward the Judicial Fine Collection Enhancement Fund. I know that is a mouthful, but this fund was created to help AOC buy computer software to enhance fine collection reporting and to assist in reporting those numbers to all of us. So the other half of that fund, if you're curious, goes toward the Circuit Court Automation Fund, and that helps the Circuit Court purchase related technology to fine collection. But what's really cool about this half of the fund is that it may also be used for indirect expenses related to fine collection. So that can include court-related technology, overtime pay, personnel and travel expenses, and things like that. So there is a little bit of discretion there, but all these expenditures must be approved by the administrative circuit judge of each circuit court. So that is interesting. So in addition, the statute allows the circuit court and the district court respectively to assess an additional $5 fee on top of that installment payment. And in circuit court, this is remitted to the collection official to help offset the cost of fine collection. And in the district court, it's remitted to the State Administration of Justice Fund, as we talked about earlier. All right. So that brings us to dedicated fines, which you'll see in that fine collection overview section of your guidebook. So Act 209 of 2009 raised the fine amount from $5 to $20 that counties and cities may assess by ordinance for convictions and violations in district court. So that is a pretty significant jump, and that is actually opened up the opportunity to raise millions of dollars in revenue. So the revenue generated from this fine is meant to help defray prisoner costs. Again, it may not exceed $20. It can be anywhere from $5 to $20 as long as it's not above $20. And it can only be implemented through passing an ordinance. So another dedicated fine that you'll see is the booking and administrative fee found in 1241-505. And this fee is assessed on persons who have been convicted of a felony or a Class A misdemeanor. So now they must pay $40 for the booking and administration fee, which previously you will see, I believe that fine was $20. So it has doubled. So that is a very important thing that your office is definitely going to want to catch so you can get that additional revenue. And this is administered through the circuit clerk's office. Whoops. That went to the beginning there. So there's a little review for you guys. Okay. And so if you're curious where this fee goes, 10% of this booking administration fee goes to the Law Enforcement Training Fund. And the remaining funds are considered special revenue, and that's used for the maintenance, operations, and capital expenditures of a county jail and certificate pay for law enforcement and jail personnel. All right, so lastly, that brings us to Act 1071 of 2021, which, as Lindsay said, is hot off presses. This is a new one. And so this is codified in 54207. And this allows defendants paying fees in installments, like I mentioned earlier, to temporarily, that is key, temporarily lower their installment payments upon a demonstration of hardship. And so it's important to remember that this defendant is still responsible for paying that entire amount that they owe, but in order to demonstrate hardship, they have to contact the entity that's responsible for collecting fines. And this lowered payment can be for no more than 3 consecutive months. If they need the payment to be lowered for longer than 3 months, then they will need an order from the circuit court, if that is possible. So it's important to note that the payments cannot be lowered if, for example, the defendant hasn't made a good faith effort to obtain the funds, or they're willfully disobeying a court order, and that's the reason that they're not paying fund. It must truly be a demonstration of hardship. Another aspect to this act that's important to keep in mind is that it changed this last year, that while the defendant is incarcerated, he or she may file notice with the circuit court and will not be considered delinquent on those installment payments while he or she is incarcerated, and up to 6 months after they are released from incarceration, if the court grants a temporary abatement of all of those obligations. So again, those same facts apply, like I mentioned, but we want to make sure that people aren't just becoming more and more delinquent because they're incarcerated and obviously they don't have a really good way to pay off that fine. And so while this act does allow for lower payments, the hope is that it's actually going to allow our offices to collect more money, because at least that defendant will be able to make some payments towards the fine instead of just completely going delinquent. So I think it'll actually be a really good way to still collect revenue. And so lastly, that act has a bond limit. So if during that time the defendant is making installment payments, they become delinquent, then the bond amount set shall not exceed more than 10% of the defendant's arrearage, which just means, you know, the money that they owe. And so I know that was super quick, but that is just a general overview of fines. If anyone has any questions, we can take them now. And keep in mind that we're going to have a long list of great speakers today, and they're going to go much deeper into some of these topics as well.
Anyone with questions, just raise your hand and I'll bring the mic to you. Come on, I know it's dark and rainy out there. You may not have had enough coffee. Okay, here we go.
Right there.
If someone's incarcerated and they do file that, do the fees continue to accrue each month?
So the question was, if someone is incarcerated and they do file a notice with the court and the court grants the abatement, do the installment payment fees continue to accrue each month? I'm reading the words temporary abatement of all obligations. I think that means that they do not owe for those months. So I would say no, that those installment payment fees would not accrue for those months that the court has abated all obligations. It would be ideal if the court put that in the order, but they may not. But that's a great question. Thank you.
Does the request have to be submitted to the court judge, or does the request go to the official in charge of the funds?
Okay, so the way that I read this statute is that if they want the temporary lowering of the payment for only the 3 months, they can talk to the official in charge of collecting the fines. But if they're gonna need it longer than the 3 months, then they have to go to the circuit court and get that approved in an order from the judge.
Last chance. Okay, thank you, Cagney.
Thank you, guys.
Moving right along, up next, we have Mary Bonner with INA, who's going to speak with us about software processing.
Morning, everyone. Hear me okay? Again, good morning. I'm so excited to be here with you guys today to tell you about ways that you can take credit card fine payments. But before we get started, I have a trivia question for you with an Amazon gift card for the person that wins. So in 2020, what percentage of adults own a credit card? Anybody?
87%.
87,
84.
84. Okay.
22.
Okay.
70.
Okay.
74.
Okay. All right. The answer is 80%. So I think 84 was closest. So 80% of adults have a credit card. And if they're anything like me, cash and checks are really a thing of the past. We know that the Arkansas code doesn't require your office to take credit card payments, but what does this statistic tell us about why you might want to consider it? It's the way that most people prefer to make payments in Arkansas. And I would expect that the number to be lower in Arkansas, but what we're seeing is that it's the way people prefer to pay when given the choice. So I'm here to talk to you today through some ways that your office can take credit and debit card payments for fines at no cost to you in order to provide a convenient payment method that the people in your counties want and that can streamline the work for your employees. But before we get started, let me just introduce myself. My name is Mary Bonner. I'm the local government business manager at the Information Network of Arkansas. And I work with local government. So I work with cities, municipalities, counties, and I've been with the company now for 10 years. So who exactly is INA? INA stands for Information Network of Arkansas. Our company was formed by legislation and we're governed by a 12-member board. We're a public-private partnership through NIC and now a part of the Tyler Technologies family. We're contracted with the state of Arkansas to provide digital services, and recently that contract was extended through 2026. We use a self-funded approach that allows us to provide payment processing services at no cost to the agency. And our goal as a company is to expand access to digital government services in the state of Arkansas. As you can see here, we serve 3 sets of people: state agencies and boards, local government, and of course, citizens and businesses. We have over 200 payment processing services with local government, including many sheriff's offices, courts through a partnership with AOC, county collectors, cities, and other offices. And several of you here today already work with us. So the question we're going to explore today is, why would you want to take credit cards? In addition to credit or debit cards being the way that many people prefer to make payments, let's talk about the biggest reason why you might want to consider taking credit cards. Digital payments can help your office run more efficiently. A study conducted by the University of Utah in 2013 found that the average cost per transaction for online services, now we're talking credit and debit card payments over the counter, was $3.91 versus $17.11 for a government to provide the service through a paper-based process. That represents a cost savings of $13.20 per transaction. Wow, right? That's a big cost savings. So let me break this down for you. So this is Laura. She lives in your county and needs to pay a fine at the sheriff's office. She's got to decide if she wants to pay online, by mail, or in person. So she decides to pay by mail. So she finds her court docket, fills out a payment form, writes a check for $100, stamps the envelope, drops it in the mail, and waits. Sheriff's office gets her form, hand enters the data in their system, deposits the check in their bank account, and then confirms the fine payment with the citizen. All that work represents about a $17 cost to the sheriff's office. Now, here's what that process looks like online. Laura goes to the sheriff's online payment page, enters her CR number to look up her fine, and pays $104 immediately online. In this case, it's $104 because she's paying a 3% plus $1 fee in addition to her $100 fine. The fine payment goes directly into the sheriff's fine management system, and the $104, what happens to it? It's securely processed by First Data. That's our payment processor. The fine portion of $100 goes directly into the sheriff's office bank account, and the $4 goes to INA. So you might be wondering where that $4 convenience fee goes and what it pays for. We make changes at the agency's request. So if you have a request for a change, we make those changes. We take on all the security risk and mitigate them. We market the services, provide all the application maintenance and upgrades, and it pays salaries for the 36 people in our office who operate this and the 900 other government services for the state. The Poinsett Sheriff's Office has processed over 5,050 online and in the office credit card transactions since 2011. Merchant fees are around 40% for credit cards. Sheriff's offices combined generated around $15,000 in profit last year. So what are some of the different products we offer that you can use to take credit card payments for fines? The most popular option is our over-the-counter payments. So a customer walks into your office and swipes a card to pay the fine. It connects to your computer to integrate with our system. It's very easy setup. It provides reports and your payments are automatically deposited into your bank account. The thing people love the most about this option is how simple the application is. It's an easy to use drop-down that has your items listed. So we send you a questionnaire and you fill it out telling us what items you want to take payments for, and we build it based on your request. So you can simply choose the item, add the amount, any required fields, quantity, and swipe the credit card. It's really that simple. So you can take payments and have all the information that you need for your backend system. We provide reporting as well. So you can have everything you need right at your fingertips. The second option is to provide an online site for customers to pay from home or anywhere really. We provide the website at no cost to the agency. Customers can choose to pay from anywhere at any time, and it all deposits directly into your bank account. We disperse only the money that goes to your agency, so you never have to worry about paying our fees back to us. Along with no setup costs, there's no minimum payments needed from us. So if you have 1 month where it's slow, you're never going to be required to pay us for some quota that you didn't meet. We also take on the risk of maintaining PCI compliance and exceeding industry security standards. So you don't have to worry about the security behind your application. We have a whole team of security folks who are constantly monitoring and updating our system and providing any maintenance updates to ensure we stay compliant and your data stays secure. Lastly, I just wanted to cover some questions we get frequently about our credit card processing services. So how do fine payments make it to my bank? We work directly with you and your bank to deposit funds directly into your account. User fees are deposited directly into INA's account. So again, you never have to worry about paying us back for our fees. Those amounts are separated. Only your amount gets deposited in your bank account and our fees get deposited into ours. Credit card payments are verified immediately with our payment processor, and funds are held on the credit card for settlement nightly and then dispersed into your bank account, along with a report that you get every day that's generated for you for reconciling. And it gives you your daily list of payments, the confirmation number that we call it, along with the amounts and the date that it was deposited into your bank account. So how do we handle credit card disputes or chargebacks? A chargeback is when a customer contacts their bank because of an unauthorized credit card charge and asks for them to reverse the charge. This most commonly happens when someone sees their credit card statement and doesn't recognize the description of the charge, or they forget that they paid a fine. This occurrence can also happen when a card is used fraudulently and a customer has to call their credit card company and dispute the charge. But we have a process where we provide documentation to the credit card merchant services to show proof of what the payment was made for. And if that doesn't work and they still deny the dispute and they debit our account for the transaction, well, if this happens, then we will invoice you for the amount and you will get a description of what you're being invoiced for. How are convenience fees set and what's a typical fee? Our fees are set by our board and are typically 3% plus $1. The normal processing rate among other companies tends to be around 4%. Plus, the credit card option to customers is a convenience. They don't have to use this method of payment. They can always choose to pay another way with your office. Bottom line is this: if you want to take credit card payments, we can help you do it securely at no cost. Now I'd like to open up the floor for any questions you may have.
Is this something an officer can implement unilaterally, or does it require an ordinance resolution from the board?
What do you mean by unilaterally?
Implement this
Sure.
without going through the board?
Sure. And you can take payments for anything you want to take payments for. We have some agencies that take payments for tickets, some agencies that take payments for reports. It's whatever you have in your office that you want to take payments for. We can set it up.
Do we have to use your equipment? Like we currently have a way to accept credit cards for other things in our office. So if they integrate with y'all, or do we have to use your things? Because I'd hate to have like a million different credit cards.
Right. You would have to use our equipment and we provide the credit card swipes to you at no cost. They're about the size of a deck of cards. So they're small little credit card scanner that you just plug into your computer via USB. But yes, you do have to use our equipment with our application.
How do you get started?
Well,
When you start?
Well, that was my last slide, so I'll go ahead and skip to it. So here's my information, and you all should have gotten some handouts as well on payment processing. My information is down at the bottom, my phone number, my email address, and I've also got some business cards. I'll be around here for a while, so if you're interested in it, just give me a call and we can get you started.
I'm curious, just as a show of hands, how many people currently accept credit cards in your office? Okay, so maybe not quite half. So I think this is a very important important tool. And like Mary said, we moving away from cash and check. One, you don't want cash in your office, period. Two, people, Cagney's age and younger, they're not gonna have checks. So I really appreciate Mary being here today. It looks like we've got one more question. for
Sure.
her.
Mary, we currently use QuickBooks as our accounting software.
Uh-huh.
Is that fine, easy for you to integrate into your system or?
It's not integrated.
Okay.
So you would manually enter it into, but we provide reporting for you. There's all kinds of reports that are built into your tool that you can pull, along with a disbursement report that we send to you daily. But inside of your reporting, you'll get things like, say you're taking a payment for a ticket. You can have any required fields built into the application that you require. So name, ticket number, case number, whatever it might be. So that when you pull that report, you'll have all of that information there to enter into your backend system, whatever that backend system is.
So if we collect circuit fines, we send you the information of all of our CR case numbers. It's in your system, so that's how they look up their account they want to pay on.
No, ma'am.
No.
Using this system, now we do have an application where we can do that, where we can build it to where you send us a file and they can look up accounts and information. We do have a way to do that as well. But for just the over-the-counter payments, it's simply a drop down where you can choose the item, put in the required fields and just swipe the credit card payment. But we do have another option like what you're looking for, and we can help you with that as well.
Okay.
I'm gonna get on a little soapbox. I'm Josh Curtis over here with Lindsay. Lindsay asked me to be the microphone runner for her today. 80% of people have credit cards. Only half of you take credit cards. Take credit cards. Let's go. Take credit cards. Every time an elected official calls me and they say they don't take credit cards, I get them to them. So figure out a way to take credit cards.
All right. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Mary. We appreciate you being here. Again, this is the future, and the future is now, like 10 years ago. But anyway, there's no time like the present to begin. If you didn't get a handout from Mary, I'm going to put these on the back table. We are running a little early, so let's go ahead and take about a 15-minute break. There's coffee and water in the kitchen you can help yourself to. The restrooms, it's raining pretty hard outside, so you may not want to venture too far out of the building, but let's meet back up here and get started at 10:50. That means we will be rolling with the next presenter at 10:50. So, all right. Hope everyone got some coffee and got refreshed and is ready to go. We're moving on to the next segment for state income tax set-off. And first we have with us Gaylord Waltermeyer from the Department of Finance and Administration. And we'll let him take off and do about the first 15 or 20 minutes or so. And then we'll switch to Danielle.
Thank you, Lindsay.
You're welcome.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I want to thank Lindsay and the Association of Arkansas Counties for the invite. I'll try to make this kind of brief, kind of laid it out here with a presentation. I am the supervisor over the SetOff division. So, and you can have a chance to ask a few questions once we're done with the segment for this period. So, and I'll be happy to answer anything you've got. So I'll just go ahead and start and briefly go through this. We do the SetOff program. We have an enrollment period. It's towards the end of every year, and I'll kind of cover that a little bit here. And it's for the following tax year. So we try to get everything in before the end of the tax year, right after the first of the year. Okay. So this one, we've already passed the period, obviously, for the 22 period. So the next enrollment period in the SetOff program would be in 23. Okay. So I'm going to start off. Let me go ahead and click the next slide. Purpose of the SetOff program, that's allow claimant agencies, which would be some type of governmental agency in the state of Arkansas, to collect, bad debt that they have, and maybe give them an avenue to collect debt that'd be otherwise pretty much uncollectible, because people want their tax refunds. And so if we can hit the refunds, obviously, you're welcome to it if you participate. Okay, so this kind of goes over what the SetOff program is for. Again, it could be a great benefit, enhancing your collection ability. As to the definition of a claimant agency, this is kind of a list of all the agencies or the type of agencies. The ones that's highlighted in yellow are ones that's over the course of the last few years have been added. There was some changes in, I think, Stanley, wasn't it July of 21, where they made some changes and added a few more agencies, I think. And they're also included in there, but this is pretty much, you know, district courts, city courts, state of Arkansas, DFA, any type of government agency within the state is eligible to participate. Definition of a debtor. Basically, a debtor is any individual that owes money, having a delinquent account with any of the claimant agency, which is legally collectible. I mean, if they had filed bankruptcy or something of that nature, obviously you can't. But if you're able to, you can participate and you can collect the bad debt. Qualifying debt under the program. This kind of outlines, I'm not going to read it all through. I'll give you a few minutes, just kind of scan through there and see, but you know, things such as child support. I mean, it can be traffic fines or whatever, you know, court level. So again, anything that's owed to a claimant agency that's legally collectible at this point. Any questions or anything there? Pretty much. Okay. Debtor notification requirements. Under the statute, there are certain requirements that you have to comply with. You have to send them a letter. We have to approve the letter before you can send it out. You also have to also put in there, you certify it at the end when you do the upload, when you participate, the number of accounts, and you certify the balances also. But anyway, this gives you a basis. There is a sample letter at the end of this. And I will say, in the question and answers, I can give you my email address and my phone number. You can call me if you would like a copy of this or anything. I'd be more than happy to email it to you. Okay? Any questions here? Some of the considerations when you participate with this, there is a little bit of monitoring requirements and things that you have to do. So you will want to make for sure you got one staff to cover it. It's not real difficult, but you may want an extra person or two to help cover it. You do have to have somewhat of a knowledge in Excel, because the download file, you can start with Excel and then convert it to a PRN file, and that's what uploads to us. We do enroll on an annual basis, as I said earlier. There is a processing fee on the amount that we intercept. So for example, if we collect $100 or intercept 100, you'll get 95, we keep a 5% fee. One of the changes in July, especially on some of the, like the district courts, court levels and stuff, it used to be 10%, but it's a flat 5% across the board now. So joint returns, they do require a protest letter to be sent, especially and that's in the case where one of them's the debtor. So the non-debtor has a right to protest it. And so you got to give them a 30-day period. Now, what that means in some cases, you may get a notification or they may get a letter that there may be a possible intercept. But if there's a protest, again, we got to give them that right, and we may have to rework the return. And that could affect if you get any money or not, or a partial amount. Okay, but it is subject to change. You'll get an initial report. You can download reports that will kind of give you an idea of what the intercept will be. But again, until you get the final disbursement, it is subject to change. Okay. We do offer also direct deposit. Most of the agencies now, I think, are really going to that. It's a little quicker, and they will give you detail when that happens. Okay. Procedures to participate, it's really relatively simple. It's kind of an emailing process. Most of the agencies that we already have on file or that's participating at this time, we just automatically email them the package. Any in the past, we're also emailing. But if it's a new agency that hasn't participated in the past and they want to enroll, just call me, I'll put you on the list and we'll send you email you out a package. during the enrollment period and get that to you and get you started that way. It's a very simple process. The intent to participate form, which is an example in the tail end of this, but again, it doesn't take too long at all. Okay. Important dates. I'll just go over this a little bit because these are some of the more important ones. November 1st is typically when we send out the packets. It may be October, the very end of October, but typically around November 1st. These dates would slightly change depending on what year it is and where the calendar date falls. Beginning around mid-November on the 15th, the claimant agency, if they're ready, they can start uploading the claimant files, the debtor files. December 1 is a date that we want the intent to participate forms by, and also the notification letters that to get our approval. And we'll send you out an email once they're approved and let you know they're approved, or if there's anything needed, we'll notify you also. On the 31st of December, if you participated in the previous year, any account balances were in there are wiped out because you're uploading the new balances, so they'll be replaced. Okay. January 15th. This is a little confusing. Sometimes some people, I've had to explain it a few times this year, but January 15th, if you upload, we pretty much guarantee you then that anything that you send in is to be, if there's an intercept, we can take it, that you'll get it. Okay. If you wait till after that day, we may already be accepting returns. So if a refund's already been triggered before you upload the file, you may miss out. Okay. So that's why we guarantee on the 15th, but February 15th is the final day to upload. Okay. So, but we opened filing this year on January 24th and they were rolling in. So, okay. But most claimant agencies had them in pretty early. Okay. Next page is a sample of the intent to participate form. This may change slightly. There are a few things that may want to add to it this year, but still ought to be one page, but pretty much it's just as it states right there, just very simple to fill out. If you have not participated before, you'd leave the agency line blank and we will assign an agency code to you, which will obviously notify you of that code number. And bank information, if you want direct deposit, is also there. And also on the next page, this is a copy of a sample debtor notification letter. We do require that to be on your letterhead, but this kind of sample of the contents, the minimum contents that it would need to have. Okay. And the last screen here, there is a portal, DFA portal that you can access. It's where you upload the files. You can actually release debts through that file, delete them, which will interface with us. But this is kind of the sample page when you come into the front and actually are working in the file. The information packet, when you receive it and you're approved, once you get that, you'll have all the instructions and details of how to upload the files and everything else. But this is basically just kind of a screenshot of the page of the portal itself. Now, one thing I would like to say is some of the state agencies, or especially with the DFA, their system may interface with us or through third-party software. So if they get a payment there, it can hit our system. But some of the other agencies, it doesn't work that way. So when every day you're able to pull up a report if you have any intercepts and pull that up. If there's any pending intercepts coming to you and a debtor has made you a payment in-house that may not reflect in our balance since your upload, you would have to go in and do a maintenance form so we can adjust the balance. Because if there's an overpayment, if we disperse the money and it results in an overpayment, you as the agency is going to have to do the refund. Okay. The best way is catch it before so that doesn't happen. Okay. But again, it's a little bit cumbersome, but if you look at your reports every day, it's pretty simple. Just complete the short form, click submit, and you're done. As to delete an account, if they pay in full, you can just delete it and that will take it out of our system. Okay. And that's pretty much it for me. I know I went through it kind of fast, but how many of y'all participate in it right now? Do you know? So a pretty good number. Are you all liking the way it works overall? Okay. All right. Well, good
If there
enough.
are questions, will come around with the microphone. Just raise your hand. Good job. Thank you. Appreciate it.
What's your email?
Okay, it's my email. It's Gaylord, GAYLORD dot Walter Meyer, and that's WALTERMIRE at DFA.arkansas.gov. And my direct phone is 501-682-7262. Okay, and again, if any of you that's not participating, if you want to get on the list, you can go ahead and tell me now. I keep a list starting first of the year who wants to enroll. So I can get you on the list right now. So when the time comes, you'll be on there and you'll get it back. Okay.
Thank you. And I'll do a little talking here while Christy gets Danielle set up. We really appreciate Gaylord and Stanley and their team. We work with them quite often. So Danielle's about to talk to you about a program called ArkTracks that we at the Association of Counties here have partnered with the National Association of Counties to provide a service to circuit courts. And this year we have added district courts as well as tax collectors to those. One thing you'll notice that he said, it does take some monitoring, it does take some staff work, and he said, but you may just need 1 or 2 extra people to do that. You all know in your offices that getting 1 or 2 extra people is not an easy thing. So our goal is to help ease the process, both for your offices and for DFA, to have kind of a one-stop shop clearinghouse for circuit clerks, district courts, and tax collectors. So what you're about to hear next is about our ArkTracks program and how we can alleviate some of that administrative burden and kind of be the middleman between you and DFA. Are we ready to go, Christy? All right, Danielle, can you hear us?
Yep, I can hear you guys. Can you guys hear me all right?
Can you hear her in the back? Just try to talk as loud as you can, and we'll try to mic you up as many ways as we can.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you everybody for joining. It was great seeing Gaylord. Him and I talk quite often about this program, so I'm happy to be able to talk to you guys today. I know quite a few already participate in the program, but we did want to, kind of talk about the program a little bit as we expand into 2023. We're currently having a really great 2022, as Lindsay can attest to and Gaylord can attest to. We're really excited to expand into district courts this year and tax collectors. So like Lindsay mentioned, we're a partnership program between the Association of Arkansas Counties and the National Association of Counties. And really the goal with the ArkTracks program is to take off some of that staff time, some of that burden from your offices so that we can automate a little bit of this debt set-off process for you. So again, we're called ArkTracks, which just stands for the Arkansas Tax Refund Exchange and Compliance System. We are a little bit different in the sense that our goal is to take that staff time away from you by being able to look up social security numbers and then really work with the state so that your data is formatted in the easiest way possible so that you communicate your debts to us and then we communicate in that in the acceptable format to the state. And we work with all of the same state debtor notification requirements that Gaylord had mentioned. We follow all of their same rules. Really, we just do the front end work for you. And for that, I know a lot of folks don't like to keep the social security numbers and some other PII in their offices. So we don't ever return that to you. We look it all up as soon as you send us their name and address, and then we'll validate those social security numbers. And then we send those on to the state so that you can start getting tax return back to you to pay off some of those delinquencies. And what we do is we actually charge a flat $25 fee for each successful offset over $30. So it doesn't really cost us any more to do a $5,000 offset versus a $50 offset. So as long as you at the local agency level collect $30, we'll charge our $25 and then that's it. So if we're able to take 2 tax returns, let's say someone files their 2021 tax return and then files an amended later on in the year, we just charge our $25 fee one time on per debt. So that's a really nice flat fee. I know some of you work with third-party collection agencies that can charge up to 30%, even 50% of the debt. Ours is that $25 flat. And we do currently work with tax collectors, sheriffs, circuit clerks, and district courts. And that's expanded from the previous years, as Lindsay had already mentioned. So we really like our program, and Gaylord mentioned some of this, but compared to some other options for getting your debts paid off, we are really, really debtor conscious. That's what we focus on. We have a lot lower collection fees. It's $25 flat. And then the debtor, if they choose not to participate in the process at all, their debt is paid without any action on their part. So before the beginning of the tax season starts, we do send out that debtor notification letter. The debtor has the option to come in and pay, set up a payment plan. If they decide, or if they're in bankruptcy, injured spouse, they can get that taken care of before the tax year starts. And then as soon as the tax year gets rolling, if they have a refund coming to them, we would intercept that, send it back to you at the local level and get that debt paid off so that your books are then clear. We also don't touch their credit report, so there's no negative impact on their rating. And then really we only take if money is available. And then you at the local level, Gaylord mentioned some of this, but your money is obtained to get those debts paid off, your books cleaned up really easily and efficiently, because we're taking over a lot of that staff time on Social Security number lookup, getting those Social Security numbers validated, updating all of the amounts throughout the year with the state, formatting requirements with the state, that sort of thing. And so we are actually in 2022 is our 3rd year in Arkansas. We're really excited when we expanded in 2022 to district courts and tax collectors. We've been able to have 14 local governments join us. And it's going really well. We're excited to work with everybody. We continue to hope to grow in the future. This program was actually started a few years back in 2018 with Marion County and the city of Indianapolis. Back in 2018, we just piloted with Marion County and it's kind of grown since then. Today in Indiana alone, we have over 100 local governments, everything from counties to cities, larger municipalities, special districts, housing authorities, that sort of thing. Any local government joins the program, and we've been able to recoup over $23 million for those Indiana agencies. The following year, we expanded out to California, and then in 2020, we went to Arkansas, and then last year was our first year working in Utah. California, we're really excited. It's grown quite quickly in the county space over there. We just recently signed San Francisco on, and then Utah is growing quite quickly as well. We have already 4 of the top 10 cities participating in our 2nd year. So we are looking to expand within Arkansas. So just based on some successes we've seen in other states, we're really excited for the future. A little bit different for us is we do have a couple program requirements that will need to be followed, in the sense that we do work with the state, the DFA, and have that $20 minimum the same. You can combine multiple debts to meet that $20 threshold. We also follow the debtor notification requirement. So anywhere between roughly November 1st to January 15th, those debtor notification letters will need to go out. You have the option of sending them yourself. We're happy to give you the sample letter format and you can fill it in, or we do have a service where we'll perform it on your behalf and then provide you with a PDF copy of those letters that we send. It is $2 per letter if we do it for you. But if we do it for you, it's really simple. You submit your file to us in the normal manner on our ArkTracks web portal, and then we take care of everything from there. In order to participate with us, you will need to sign an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, and a participation form with the Association of Arkansas Counties. And that just says you agree to meet our file requirements and the $25 successful fee for every offset. And we'll invoice you the following month for those. And then we do work with you on getting your file formatted in the correct manner. So whatever system you're using, we can work with you so that whatever is easily downloadable off your computer software, then we can work to get it transferred into the right format so that we can then share that information with the state. We can work in Excel, we can work in text, or whatever else you have, we can convert it into one of those formats. And this is just a snapshot of where you can find our information and just a general overview of the program. So if you go to the Arkansas Association of Counties website, scroll down, you'll see ArkTracks, and this is the site it'll bring you to. And then from there, you can log into our ArkTracks web portal, where you'll have the ability all year long to upload your file, refresh your file with most current debt amounts or deletions if you're taking anybody off your debt list, as well as find a copy of all your payment reports, a PDF copy of all the letters if we've sent them on your behalf. And so we really make it a one-stop shop so that you log into the portal, you have access to all of your information, and we can work with the state on your behalf so that it's a little less cumbersome for your staff. If you want to participate in debt SetOff through ArkTracks, these are the steps to get started. We can work with you on getting the ordinance passed if it's required. It's kind of a agency by agency if it's needed to be passed or not. And then once that's taken care of, sign your MOU. We'll work with you to get your debt files submitted to us and in a format that's easy for you to use. And then, as Gaylord mentioned, around the end of January is when we should start receiving the first monies of the year. Generally, the height of the tax season is the end of January to usually about the middle of May or so, a little bit earlier sometimes. And then we see another bump at the end of the year for the late filers. So it's always a good time to get started, and it's never too early to start preparing for the 2023 year. And Gaylord mentioned some of these timelines here, but just for specific to ArkTracks, before the beginning of the tax season, a couple of deadlines to keep in mind. If you do want to participate for 2023 season, you would get your MOU signed sometime before December 1st. We can accept those up to December 15th. And then December 15th is actually when you would need to get your debt file submitted to us. And that just lets us know that the letters have been sent, allowing the 30-day contestation window for the debtor should they have any questions, want to pay it, all that before we go ahead and send your file to the state on January 15th. We do get all of everybody's files submitted no later than January 15th to the state. And so we do ask that December 15th, we receive all files from you so that we have that 30-day window. And then during the tax season, the biggest thing to remember is anytime you have a change in your debt amounts, or if you're going to release somebody for whatever reason, bankruptcy, injured spouse, payment plan, they've paid it in full, whatever the reason be, if the debt amount changes, we need to know that. And so what you would need to do is just go onto our ArkTracks portal, submit your refreshed file with those new debt amounts, either zero or the updated amount, and then we'll work to get that transferred over to the state. We do ask that by the 23rd of each month, we have your most current debt amounts. If there's anything after that, we can work with you on a case-by-case basis, but we try to ask that the majority of those changes be done by the 23rd of each month, close of business. And then as Gaylord mentions, whenever the DFA begins processing tax returns is when you can start receiving money, and we'll go ahead and pull that payment file on your behalf and put it into your ArkTracks web portal so that it's easily downloadable from an Excel format, or if you needed it in another format to easily reconcile your books, we'll work with you on that as well. And then here's our email addresses. Lindsay there's in the room, and then myself, Danielle Steinhardt. I know I work with some of you. Feel free to take down our email. I'm happy to do a one-on-one Q&A with any of your interested agencies as we talk about getting ready for the 2023 year, or if you already participate and you have questions, feel free to reach out to us at any time. Lindsay and myself are the contacts throughout the year, so that's what we're here for. Ask questions, whatever you need. We'll be a resource. Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you, Danielle. And before we start questions for Danielle, I'm just going to jump in because we are a team and we'll just do this together. So Danielle, stay on with us. Don't go anywhere. Gaylord kind of gave the technical overview of how the income tax set-off system works in the state of Arkansas. And Danielle kind of gave you a quick rundown of the technical part of ArkTracks and what that service provides for you all. But I kind of want to wrap it up with a bow, practically speaking, and tell you how it can actually benefit you and some highlights that I want you to take away. The prime example I want to give you is Craighead County. We've got Craighead County here in the back of the room today. Last year in their program, they got 104,000 in offsets processed by DFA. So for all those offsets, most of them are in the several $100 range. And again, it's a $25 fee for all those. However, what I really want to emphasize is they had $121,000 in voluntary walk-in payments. So once those debtor notices go out, that's going to cue people to come into your office and start paying. You owe nothing to ArkTracks or DFA or anyone for that. The agency gets to keep 100% of those walk-in payments. The $121,000 that they got in walk-in payments did not include those who paid online. So that was just people who came in and paid by check. I can't imagine if they know. Becky, do you have an idea of how much online additionally you got? No, I don't expect you to know. Don't hate to put you on the spot. Sorry about that. But I mean, probably close to $200,000 in walk-in. So in other states, you're seeing anywhere from 2 to 3 times the walk-in payments as to what you're actually getting from DFA. So I just wanted to emphasize that benefit. Also, if you are interested in the ArkTracks program, Arkansas code 16-13-709 says that your quorum court needs to pass an ordinance. Again, that's 16-13-709. I can get you the sample ordinance. I can help you work with your quorum courts to get that passed, but that is just to designate the Association of Arkansas Counties as a private contractor to collect this delinquent debt for you. Unless the rules are suspended, that ordinance would need to be read at 3 separate times. So there is a timeline. Ideally, that ordinance would need to go to your quorum court by June. If you're going to do it 3 separate readings, of course, we can help them. If it's if you can get a 2/3 vote, you can do all 3 readings at once. But again, as Danielle said, those letters need to start going out in November. Drop dead date on getting those debtor notices out about the 15th of December. So we can get your information turned in as soon as possible, because really the early bird gets the worm. And if we don't get it turned in early, some other agency is gonna get in there and snatch these up before we can. I think that's all I have right now. So if you have questions, Danielle and I are happy to answer those. Just raise your hand and Josh will come around with the mic.
If you got any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them too, in case you thought of anything. So sure.
Wow. Anybody?
Lindsay, how many entities do you have signed up right now in the state through ArkTracks?
So in 2020, when we started, we had 3. We're up to, I believe, 13 agencies now, Danielle?
14.
14. 14 agencies. Again, that's including circuit courts, district courts, and tax collectors. We have found the highest rate of intercepts to be with the circuit court fines. So if you collect circuit court fines and you're here today, they really tend to get the highest interception rate back as opposed to the district courts or the property taxes. So really hope you'll reach out to us. If you didn't get my name, Lindsay French, my email is lfrench@arcounties.org. And happy to work with you and get started on that. It's been an exciting program. And again, I just can't thank DFA enough for how easy they are to work with, and they're just wonderful.
Thank you.
Lindsay, we participated in this in Benton County on a trial run a couple of years ago, but for other people in the room, how does the percentage, how do counties take care of that percentage is being taken out of? Because if they owe, say, $100 fine and you're taking, can you explain that? How the county offsets the percentage that DFA takes off the fine?
Sure. So what Brenda's talking about is there's a 5% DFA fee that's taken off the top. So if someone owes a $100 fine, you will get sent directly to you $95, 95%. I'm gonna look at you back here, Becky and Tammy. So just nod your head if I'm right, or shake your head if I'm wrong, and we'll bring the microphone back there. But one way this can be done is to have your administrative judge sign off a standing order forgiving that 5% basically, and saying that their fine is completed, is forgiven once that offset is taken. Is that what happened in Craighead County?
Right, we will write off the amount of things that it was supposed to be about.
In the sheriff's office? Okay, so the way Craighead County handles it is they write it off in the sheriff's office. They write off that 5%.
We write it off in the account. As we are applying their money to these accounts, we would write off what the DFA do.
Okay. So I like the idea of getting a standing order from your administrative judge and just granting that authority to do that. Sure.
I'm gonna make a little comment on some of this. I mean, it's more to do with balances and things, but if there's been say that you write off a balance, okay? I know that some use outside accounting firms and everything else. They keep a record sometimes. I've had a little problem this year with some of that, where the accounting firms are keeping a record of what I refer to as charge-off files, okay? And when the claimant agency is sending in their files for them to prepare to do the uploads, they're putting those abated files back into the file, and it's loading it as a debtor again. So we're getting files in there, and the agencies are saying we don't have a balance, but yet the firm's saying that they do. So kind of, I don't know if anybody uses outside, I'm sure some of you do, that, you know, audit your books, but you want to make, if they prepare them, you want to make for sure, I know you all double check for that, but just make for sure that they're not added charge-off files back in there, because it can pose a problem where we're sending you money and you're going to have to end up and send it back to them, okay?
Yeah. That's a good point. And that is one thing that we're making sure that we don't do. Again, for ArkTracks, the $25 fee is invoiced after the fact. So we will not take out that $25 fee out of the money you get. You will get all of that. Then you can turn around and pay us out of a professional services line item or some other line item that your quorum court has budgeted accordingly.
So I have two questions. What if we don't write off the 5% that the DFA takes? Is that legal?
So that's a great question. She said, what if we don't write off the 5% DFA takes? Under the state law, once that defendant's full debt amount has been intercepted from their tax return, they have paid it. So you cannot then turn around and say, okay, they still owe for the 5%. Under the eyes of the state law, that defendant has been paid in full. The agency in charge of collection has to be on the hook for that 5% under state law.
Paid full, I understand that. What if it's a portion payment? Like what if we get 2,000 and they owe us 8,000?
You still have to credit them for the 5%, yes, because they have actually paid the money. So under current state law, we can't penalize them and charge them that extra 5%.
So that same would be the same $25 fee, which I think you answered. We have to let a different line, but they get credit for it. So it's actually a cost to the county because the debtor gets the full, let's say it's $100 and they pay 25, the debtor gets the full $100 credit.
Yeah, the $25 fee is different than the DFA fee because it is paid on the back end. Like it's like you're paying us for a service. We're not taking the money from the money that DFA sends. So yeah, it's just like you're paying any other vendor for a service provided to you.
Either way, the debtor gets the full amount.
Correct.
Thank you.
Correct. Again, that's all state law and nothing that can be done for it. We've tried discussing it with legislators and they just didn't have any appetite to change it.
So with that being focused more towards the circuit accounts, a lot of ours have restitution attached to that. So how are we circumventing the issue with that?
So there's no circumventing. Gaylord showed the list of eligible debts. You can submit restitution debt for this. And yeah, you can get restitution through this process too.
So I guess my question with that is if they owe, let's say, example, $2,500, by the time we're taking the fees out, we can't charge anything for the fees, for the collection fees or anything like that to give the victim the full balance of the restitution.
That's correct. That's correct. But that victim is getting $2,400, however many dollars, where before they would have gotten $0. Danielle, we'll let you give a closing statement.
Oh, it's just great working with you all. And if you have any questions, again, feel free to reach out to myself or Lindsay. We're really excited to get working on 2023 here soon and enjoy the rest of your seminar. I know Lindsay's provided quite an agenda for you guys today, so good luck with the rest of your day. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Danielle. And thank you, Gaylord and Stanley.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, we're going to get started again. Thanks for bearing with us through some more technical difficulties. We are so excited that Rochelle Jones and Chuck Moody from DFA are joining us. They are going to talk about driver's license suspensions. So we will give them a warm welcome. Thank you.
Well, hopefully we're not going to bore y'all too much. Yeah. So my name is Chuck Moody. I'm a hearing officer for the state of Arkansas Driver Control. I've been with the state for 20 years, and 17 of those years I've been a hearing officer.
Rochelle Jones, Department of Finance, been with the state this month, going on 19. And I've been a manager in this section for just a year now. So I'm learning a lot from Chuck that's been in this role a long time now.
Well, we'll just get down to the meat and potatoes. Unfortunately, we can't get people to comply once they get in trouble. So we rely on the courts to send us an order to suspend on an FTA or failure to pay. And once we get that order, we enter it into our system, and we actually give the licensee 30 days to comply with the court before the suspension goes into effect. Once the suspension goes into effect, their status goes to suspended, and then by statutory law, we're required to collect a $100 reinstatement fee each time a court sends in a suspension order. And a suspension is a temporary suspension. It's not a permanent one. So it can be resolved if the licensee chooses to go down that route. A revocation is a little differently. Just to give you an example, if you get a DUI number 4 within a 5-year time frame, then we're going to revoke your license for 4 years. And during that 4 years, you're not going to get anything to drive on. So there is a big difference between a suspension and a revocation. Plus a revocation, after this time period is up, we're going to require you to retest and all this other kind of stuff that we're going to require. So, and then the courts can actually go into, you can actually submit an order for us to write a permit. However, there are certain offenses that if it's on the licensee's record, we cannot by statutory law write a permit for. And they're listed above a DUI, refusal to submit, underage DUI, underage refusal to submit, failure to pay child support, fraud, an out-of-state driver, an ability to drive, which is a driver who doesn't possess the mental or physical capability to safely operate a motor vehicle. Safety responsibility, and what that is if a licensee is involved in an accident and there's been a substantial amount of damage and a judgment was entered and rendered against that licensee, then that licensee is suspended and they just have to satisfy the safety responsibility section. And I'm gonna let you.
So as that suspension goes on to that driver account, depends on what that citation that comes in from that court. We go what is called the reinstatement fees, and we listed the requirements that goes out in their letters, as well as we follow statute, of course. We put the example with the DUI, the DWI, and BUI. It's like all the letters are running together. But versus their reinstatement fees and requirements, with a DUI is $150 that comes on. Like Chuck stated, it's 30 days prior. We give you a 30-day notice, basically saying that even though your citation, your conviction date is this date, if we put it on, we give you like a pending status for 30 days. You can take care of your requirements within that time with the court. They send over a release or dismissal, however the judgment is. Then that reinstatement fee of $150 won't go on to your account. It will be dismissed or taken care of. In some categories, the payments are needing to be filled. But we give that driver at least 30 days to comply back and forth with you. And refusals for tests, same thing. It's certain programs that must be met, educational classes, victim impact, as well as the fee. We go all the way down to offenses with DUI. I think the law had changed where it's now for every DUI, DWI, the offenses for the first one is 6 months, and then go all the way down to the fourth, which is 4 years. And I think he had stated about the lifetime of a DUI, if you can get that license back. And that depends on if you have had a hearing with the hearing officers. So with our fees, we make sure that we follow guidelines. We make sure we have the education listed for our drivers, and letters do go out with that.
And I will say this, once we get an order from the court, once we enter it into our system generates a letter to that licensee to tell them to contact this court. Now, one of the things that's kind of problematic is the licensee doesn't update their address with the revenue office. So they always say, well, I didn't get that letter. Well, we always have to refer back. Well, statute says once you establish a new residence within 10 days, you have to go into revenue to change it on your license. Therefore, it's on you at this point in time, because we can only send the last notice to that last known address.
We wanted to show the percentage wise on certain type fees versus the paid in that's owed and the total amount. I can see where the DUI, the $25 at that time was the highest that we had. Well, yeah, DUI was a 31%. But we mainly stay with the first category that, that's one of our big ones that we're trying to make sure that payment, that money is coming in. That's why we may have it where we have different options to pay online. They can come visit our office. They can get meetings with our hearing officers, trying to collect that fee, or if they take care of the court before that 30-day notice that we send out to them, that pending status, that they don't have to worry about these reinstatement fees. You know, that's something that we really do push in our department. And this is also, once again, our online services for reinstatement. They can visit our online department, they can go in person, or they can mail in. All right.
And the fee itself, the licensee is the one that has to go into the revenue office to pay that fee. Revenue will not accept a payment from a relative or friend. But we're really pushing that they pay those reinstatement fees online. Ultimately, we want the licensee to comply with the courts. I mean, that's our ultimate goal. But unfortunately, we have a large percentage of people that just don't want to do that. And so
I was glad to actually come in on a part where Mr. Gaylord, I talked to him several times throughout the month. I think every week we talk correspondingly through email, but I think I call him more than I call in at work, which is never. And Lindsay and Danielle kind of piggybanked off the tax set-off part for me. As a newcomer that's understanding the program, we're actually a participant in that program, and it's been very beneficial to us. I think before I became an employee in that section, I remember the roundtable discussions of this, of how not being a part of the program versus now. I'm seeing the phone calls are going to always be heavy loaded, you know, because now you have people, hey, you took my money, why? But when you send those letters out, and she stated November, but we went ahead and started sending them out in September. And it was best for our agency, Department of Finance with driver control, in September, because we want to get not only ahead, but ahead of everybody else. I say we are one of the lower totem page, you know, you pay this, then child support, then this, then we get it. So we want to make sure we send that letter out. And I hated that I did not put it in there because she stated letters. And I'm like, oh, I have an example of a letter that we send out telling them, hey, you have 30 days to comply to the letter. But we also include the law. We also back up what tax has us to put out versus what the letters that they send out to the participant to go ahead and pay. It's been very beneficial to us. In a way, I just gave a snip of one of the reports from January to December versus the debtors. And I think when we kind of started off, you know, nobody wants to pay untaxed. They want the money. Vacation time is coming. They want the money. So we allocated it down from each month, how much the money came. And as you can see, March and June were our busiest payment coming in. I don't have it where we, and that's something that Lindsay said that I'm going to really kind of get in, the online services. Where do they pay it online? The percentage of it. I know for a fact our mail-ins are heavy, but I was able to allocate this down for the year. Now, I'm not going to say this is by the people. I think the debtors are more of the entities where they go into. And if you had any questions with this part, I will be able to answer this once I get more information as far as and where distributed from online, in person, or if the mailing it in far as in us. Our little PowerPoint was sweet and simple. I think Danielle, Lindsay, and Mr. Gaylord covered a lot of our tax set-off and where our funds are coming in. I don't think I can say is that if you're not a part of the program, I'm not a pusher for it. They didn't pay me, but get a part of it because it has been great for us. Where we needed like 30 people at one point in time, we was able to get a small section of it to kind of handle and keep up. And he, like I say, I speak with him almost every week.
And I will say this, she is incredible to work with too. She's
Thank
done
you.
a wonderful job over there. She's getting a handle on it, and we love working with people like that. And as she said, we're here to help. So
Yes.
anything that we can do to make it better for you and collect some of this stuff, because it is pretty overwhelming what we can get.
And when we send those letters in September and October, they have a right to have a hearing with us. And part of the hearing is we're going to get certified records from the court of why is the FTA suspended? You know, was it for careless driving? Because we have to present that evidence to the licensee. It's actually part of the evidence. I will say this, in 3 years, we've had 2 requests and we've had 1 show up. So we don't get a lot of people that will actually pay attention to that initial letter. The people that pay attention to the other letters, the letters that they're getting now that says, we have intercepted your taxes and this is where it's going.
Yeah.
So when we get those phone calls, we look up their account and then we're looking at all their reinstatement requirements and we're referring them to y'all, the courts, and say, you need to contact this court, because just because we intercept this money, it doesn't mean that your license is going to get reinstated, because a lot of them think, okay, you're going to take $150 from me. I might owe $1,200, so now I'm getting my license. No, that's not the case. We can only take a certain amount that you're getting back, and we're the last on the totem pole.
We are.
So, but they think that just because you're taking my state income tax refund, then everything goes away and I'm getting my license. And we're having to tell them, no, that's not the case. You've got to contact Jonesboro. You've got to contact Blytheville. You've got to contact Harrison. And hopefully they're doing that, but.
And that goes into that 30 days period, time frame once. And I think I stretched that a lot when I talk to our drivers or when they have that conviction, when they receive that ticket, please contact that court. Do not put it off, because it might be something that could be a court error. I say human error because everyone makes them, or it could have been something that you could have just taken care of right then. Don't wait till later, because here it is now, tax season. They're going to take those taxes and you might have need them. But had you had just made that phone call and talked to that circuit judge, that clerk or whatever in that county, to get that taken care of, you might not have had that reinstatement fee. So we do refer them back to the courts, but I try to, because I work with the courts a lot, I know what they're going to say. Hey, we're taking care of that. This is what they owe. So I try to be an advocate if I can for both parties. Do you have any questions? Anybody?
And I'll go ahead and say this. A lot of people think just because that person only has an ID card that I don't need to send in a suspension order. Yes, you do. Because it does go suspended. Does not suspend their ID card or cancel it, because they have to have that for identification purposes. But what that does down the road is that prevents them from getting a driver's license, because we want them to comply with the courts and their reinstatement fees. So hopefully y'all have some questions.
Yes.
They're hungry.
Yes, ma'am.
I work in district court, and so I suspend license.
Yes, ma'am.
And you started the thing where we have to send in the suspension, then you send a letter out for the 30 days, allowing them to contact us.
Well, the 30 days is a pending status that we put in the system, because you know of all things, the courts are really busy. So they might have had that conviction, and I'm sure you have your time frame of when you do send that statement in for us, the kid on the account. I'm just giving take. They had the conviction, the judge signed off on it on a Tuesday. We probably got it that Thursday, give and take Friday. It's gonna 30 days pended out, giving that driver that time frame to go ahead and take care of the court's issue. They might have, might have needed to pay a payment or however your judgment might be. But if they take care of that between that time frame, not necessarily a letter going out saying they have 30 days, then because once they get that from you, they're going to contact us. We're going to send them a letter saying that, hey, your reinstatement fee is this amount due to your conviction, or however, you have this 30 days. So that's when that letter goes out. Once it's keyed into the system based on where you send it in, then our letter generates overnight, the moment.
That was another question I use, AIRS.
Yeah, we use theirs too,
So do I need to go ahead and fax and order a suspension or just do it on theirs?
We don't.
Once you do it through AIRS, it's going to upload into our system and then the
Court
system,
order.
right, Court Connect, then it's going to overnight generate that letter to that licensee.
Correct.
So really you don't need to, because what it's going to essentially do is you fax it in, then somebody else is going to have to look at it. They're going to have to say, well, is this the same one? And
That
yeah.
happens. So I just wanted to confirm that. Also, on the DWIs, did I understand correctly that if they complete like their classes and stuff in the first 30 days, they don't have to pay the $150?
No. On a DUI, number one, it's a 6-month suspension. If it's alcohol, we're going to require the ignition interlock. They're going to have to attend a alcohol education class, a Mothers Against Drunk Drivers Victim Impact Panel class, and then they'll have a $150 reinstatement fee. Yes.
That 30-day period, I do apologize for the confusion. That's more for the FTAs or failure to pay. And those.
No, I think for some of the confusion maybe is once that licensee gets arrested for the suspicion of DUI, the suspension doesn't go into effect until 30 days after the date of arrest. That's actually a statutory requirement. And then they have to request an administrative license suspension hearing to see, to come in before me and see what they're eligible to drive on. So.
Actually, that was a great question. Anybody else? Our information we provided, if you have any questions dealing with anything with driver control that I can be an assistant to, I am their new manager, but we have, we call him Chuck, but Charles Moody, this is his email address. He's one of the hearing officers. I think we wear him out in driver control.
Sometimes they do.
Because of the knowledge that he has to gain. And also I want to put out, one of my hire managers, Melanie Turner. She's great. I'm following behind her lead. And she's Melanie Turner at dfa.arkansas.gov. If there's any, I don't know if you all are familiar with her, but if there's any questions that I can't answer or Mr. Chuck, then she would be our go-to person. And
if y'all are having any problems with Court Connect,
yes,
entering stuff, we want y'all to reach out because the online portal has actually alleviated some of the staffing that everybody has now. So we've actually can actually restructure some staff to do some other things because of that.
All right. Well, thank you all so much again. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Chuck and Rochelle. We appreciate you being here and taking time out of your day to educate us. You all got this handy book. Every single topic that has been presented on today, even though they've all given their own presentations, there's a synopsis of every one of these tools in here that Cagney has poured hours of research into, making sure it's up to date and accurate. So thank you, Cagney, for that. The suspension of driver's license is on page 15 in here, everything that you would need to do for you to implement that. And any of our speakers who are interested in these guidebooks, they're on the back table. If you want to see what we're handing out, feel free to take one with you. Welcome back, everyone, and we're glad to have your faces still here with us. We're going to start on our afternoon portion of the program. This will be about the RDOT litter pickup program, and we will hand it off to Steve Frisbee with RDOT, and I'll let him introduce his team.
All right, good afternoon. I'm Steve Frisbee, Assistant Chief Engineer for Operations for the Arkansas Department of Transportation. This will be my first time to present this to this group. I guess it was 2019 that we presented. I believe we do this about every 2 years when y'all meet. And my predecessor, Tony Sullivan, is retired. So I was asking Lindsay, I wasn't sure of the audience or if I've got new information for you. Some of you may already know all about this, may know about it more than myself. But hopefully I can give you a little bit of information and maybe we can connect and find a way to improve this program. So just again, want to thank the Association of Arkansas Counties for having us here, Dave. It's a great lunch. I've got Dave Parker, our Public Information Officer, here with me. So if you got any kind of questions about RDOT, Dave is the one that can answer that. And also Holly Butler, we were talking about, she's in a Public Information Office, and Dave was gonna introduce her. Holly is over our Adopt a Highway program and our litter pickup. And so Dave was trying to think of the appropriate title, a little bit more official title for Holly, and he came up with the official RDOT trash talker. And so I don't know if we want to stick with that or not, but I'm going to take Jay's joke. And but Holly's going to tell you just in general about litter. And all of you already know a lot about litter, but specifically for my presentation, I wanted to talk about our litter pickup program. And this is a program that has been going on now since about 2007. So a quick background on this. With Arkansas obviously having a growing litter problem over the years, a task force was created back in 2003 to seek new strategies to combat that litter. A jail inmate litter pickup program was proposed as a means to obtain services to remove litter from our Arkansas highways. RDOT at the time passed a minute order in 2007 to promote a pilot program for this to take care of this litter issue. So the intent of the pilot program was to develop agreements with selected counties by which RDOT would provide payments to each county to assign jail inmates to pick up litter along our state highway right of way. These payments, now don't let this shock you, some of you may know it, the payment rate of $2 per hour per inmate was proposed and established as a means of reimbursing the county for the deputy for security and for transportation, for fuel and gas, just to help kind of offset the cost of the program. So at the time, back in 2007, there were 13 counties that agreed to this pilot project. It was St. Francis, Jefferson, Pike, Washington, Sebastian, White, Cleburne, Pulaski, Union, Faulkner, Benton, Craighead, and Mississippi counties. So in 2008, this program had proved to be such a success that Arkansas expanded this pilot right away into all interested counties. So with this program, RDOT's responsibilities. We're going to provide the signs and the sign supports to the county. So there are sign requirements to warn the motorists that are traveling along the highways that a litter crew is out there. So we would provide those signs. We're going to provide safety vests and trash bags, and we collect and dispose of all the litter that is picked up. And so the inmates would pick the litter up, put them in the bags, leave them along the shoulder of the highway, and we'll come back later and take care of those bags. Also, as far as responsibilities, although it's very unlikely to be needed, RDOT personnel does have the right to perform reasonable audits of the activities and reimbursements, since this is a reimbursable program, and have the ability to examine records from the county related to the program. The county responsibilities. So each participating county, after signing the agreement, shall at all times maintain an on-site oversight and supervision of the jail inmate crew. We do have exceptions such as work release inmates, community service inmates that are allowed to work independently of enforcement oversight. They can have schedules and locations set up with the proper authorities and perform the work in accordance with the rules without having that oversight. These hours all are submitted by the county sheriff for appropriate reimbursement under the terms of the agreement. So the county sheriff's office coordinates the daily litter pickup activities with the designated official with RDOT. In that case, each county in Arkansas, just like you have a county judge and sheriff, we have a RDOT facility in every county in our state. So that facility is our area maintenance headquarters. So we consider them our county crews, but we don't mean county as you. They're the RDOT crew in each county. So you would coordinate with that area maintenance supervisor. They're going to work together on what routes might need litter pickup more than other routes. But to be honest, we're happy to get litter pickup on any route that you can identify, because you can go out and pick up litter on a route today, and as you know, you're going to need it again tomorrow. So we appreciate and really enjoy the help on this program. And so we just look forward to anybody that's interested in participating. So the county, represented by the sheriff's office, is required to maintain and submit upon request the documentation showing what routes they worked on and the other documentation relevant to the reimbursement request. The county sheriff is totally responsible for the needs of the inmates, of course. and for security and protection of the public. And I'm not a lawyer, so I didn't write this, but RDOT, of course, has to be held harmless on any aspects of the program regarding the care and treatments of the inmates, and for the security and protection of the public. So, how to participate? The county sheriff or the county judge will contact RDOT. And I want to make this clear. So if you're interested in this program, we have had this happen. Please don't go out and pick up litter, record the hours, and then turn a bill into us. We've got to get an agreement up front. I know that's obvious, but I have to say it. So the sheriff or the judge, if you're interested, reach out to us. You can reach out to myself, Dave. We'll get you in the right contact. In this case, it's going to be with a district engineer. So RDOT, and I'll show the slide here in a minute, is made up of 10 districts in the state to kind of break up. And I used to serve as a district engineer in Southwest Arkansas, also served in a similar capacity in Northeast Arkansas. So I've been around the state myself. This district engineer and their staff is going to provide the paperwork. We're going to get the agreement worked up. We've got a sample resolution we would provide for you that would have to be executed by the county. Then we've got a couple of forms. It's very basics, a labor time record form and a litter pickup reimbursement request form. So we try to keep this very basic. It's not a complicated program. After the resolution and agreement are signed by the county sheriff and judge, it's sent to us. We get it to the director of the department, and our director would sign off, and that executes the actual agreement. To request reimbursement once the agreement's made, the county submits a litter pickup reimbursement request form, the labor time record. They send that to the appropriate area maintenance supervisor or the district engineer, and our district office processes the paperwork. Again, it doesn't have to come up to Little Rock to get paid. Each district can handle payment right there at the local level. Again, it's pretty painless and works out really well for us. I'll back up and show this. So again, this program started back in 2007. It's been going for quite a while. We've had counties join and then counties get out. Understandably so, the COVID pandemic, like with so many other things, has put a pretty big damper on participation in the program. It's my understanding that a lot of the prison systems were not allowed to send their inmates out for doing some of the litter pickup. And so we've gone a couple of years with hardly any activity. And so we're looking forward to trying to get the program back up. So this year, so far, I did a quick check, and I apologize to any counties that I didn't get included here, but the counties right now, they're currently participating are Washington, Stone, Cleburne, Garland, Clark, Benton, Boone, Searcy, and Craighead County. So this is just a quick map to show those areas. Again, the original group, there's several counties that have done a great job for us, such as St. Francis, Jefferson, Pike, several other counties. Again, don't mean to miss anybody, but a lot of counties have had a successful program and for various reasons just haven't participated just in this last year. But that does not mean we don't already have an agreement with you. So some of you, if you want to get back into it and you've done this before, I'm not necessarily saying we have to do a new agreement. We can get together, look at whose name's on the agreement, and if you're comfortable and we are, we can proceed on under that existing agreement. Just a quick shot of our districts. Don't mean to give you too many details that don't matter, but again, our state's divided by 10 districts. For yourselves, your county judges, your sheriffs, these districts and the district engineers in those districts and their staff are a great resource. I have a feeling a lot of the counties already work with our districts as well. Again, I served down in Hope, Arkansas for quite a few years as a district engineer, and I work pretty closely with county judges in certain areas because we have other programs. We've got state aid programs, we've got city aid programs with mayors, and so we already do a lot of work coordinating with the counties. Again, this is just one small aspect of that. Again, these are just a lot of names. I wouldn't expect you to know all of these folks, but if you ever need that contact, all you've got to do to reach out to us, and I would love to get you in contact with your local district engineer so they can work with you on this issue or any issue you've got in the state. And I also want to back up and mention, I don't have a slide on this, so I mentioned that $2. Again, I realize $2 an hour is not much. This was back in 2007. I realize what inflation has done. We've talked a little bit about raising that, haven't done anything officially. I would love to see that bump from $2 to $4 an hour, and I'm hopeful we can do that. The original pilot program, again, this wasn't a big program. We put aside $50,000 back then. And over the last 10 years, as we have done the $2 per hour, we've basically spent about $50,000 a year. And so I'm working right now to budget and try to increase that to 200, 300,000. We would love nothing more than to get more counties, all counties, to want to participate in this, but we've got to make it financially feasible for you as well. So I don't know if $4 an hour is good. I know for myself, the cost of doing business from 2007 to today is probably more than doubled. But at the same time, my personal budget hasn't doubled. My salary hasn't doubled. And as some of you may be like me, and we all struggle. So as a DOT, as an agency, we do have funding. I think we can increase the funding here. It's just how much. But a lot of that has to do with what counties want to participate. So again, to the counties that are already doing this with us now, realize this is not a means for you to make money. It's hopefully a joint venture for us to get the benefit, the citizens of Arkansas to get a benefit, and these counties to get a little bit of reimbursement and find a way to do this public service. With that said, just quick plug on some of our websites. Of course, our main website, rdot.gov. There's a lot of other links that we've got here. Our iDrive Arkansas is a great resource for lots of things, emergency services when you're dealing with floods, snow events. iDrive is a great plug. We're now on Facebook and Twitter, and Dave or Holly can tell you a little bit more about that. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Again, I want to really plug this, though. If you're interested in the program, but $2 is not going to do it. Again, I realize you could just say, well, yeah, $4 sounds better, but what is a reasonable amount? I need some good feedback so I can go to our administration. I can then go to our highway commission and say, hey, these counties really want to do this, but the cost is just not feasible. If it were something like this, maybe it's $3, maybe it's $3.25, $3.50. I've been trying to run some numbers on inflation and be able to justify a number. I don't know how the $2 came about, really. I think it had to do with just about how many inmates with these original pilot groups, how many inmates could be supervised, about what their costs were, and how to reimburse them. But again, some of you may know much more than I do about this program. But at a level of mine as a district engineer where I served, it was a huge help for us. And we also have other groups, correctional units that don't even get reimbursement, but go out and do a lot of litter pickup for us. And it is a super help to RDOT. With more about the litter, again, Holly's going to come up and just tell you about some litter campaigns that we've got. This is more just information for you. We've got Adopt a Highway groups. But with that said, are there any questions, particularly about this program that I might could answer or get some answers for you? All right.
All of that reimbursement, that covers all kinds of things like gas or litter bags or
yeah, so the bag, we provide the vest and the bags, and it's all the bags that they need to go pick up litter. We've already got the bags. I know that's not a big expense, and the vest just to do it safely. But yeah, that $2 an hour per inmate, say that you can have 15 inmates out there. Again, I don't know the business. I don't know what's a fair. So now you're talking about $30 per hour. Would that cover the cost of somebody supervising them, driving them out? Is that?
Yeah, I guess they did run that when we started. Sure. You're a sheriff. You basically got some needs out there. Also make mistakes. Not paying the fine off, but you out there sweat a little bit, it was others, it makes it bad. So the ones that pursued it, when Governor Jefferson County, Garland County, Oklahoma, they were using it for better the community and to make that sort of stuff that we not
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, again, it's a service for RDOT, it's a service for the state. And yes, it just looks good for these counties that get out there and pick up. When the public sees that and they see that partnership, Again, we're not trying to take the credit. They know it's not us out there doing the work. They see those inmates and that's the benefit. And I can think of some counties where the sheriff's office, they kind of pair that off with the Adopt a Highway program. So now we're going to put out the signs that say, I think of Howard County adopts all of these miles of highway. And they're like, well, what does that mean? And then they see the inmates out there picking up, and it really makes Howard County look great from so many standpoints. And I'm sure there's plenty of other counties that have that, get that same benefit out of it. Yes, sir. All right, with that, I'll let Holly come up and give her presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Can y'all hear me okay? Okay, good deal. So my name is Holly Butler, and I'm the Executive Assistant for the Public Information Office. And I'm going to talk to you today about our Keep It Clean Arkansas campaign. It's our anti-litter campaign that was recently launched last fall. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about how we got to the point of launching this campaign, and then some things that RDOT has previously been doing to address litter around the state. So we have our Adopt a Highway program, which I will talk more about in just a few minutes, but that is more of a reactive approach to tackling litter around the state. But we didn't really have a proactive approach. We're always talking about how we clean up the litter, but we don't talk about why the litter shouldn't be there to begin with. Sorry. I'll just hold this. Does that work? Okay. So anyways, around May of last year, I got this email from Keep America Beautiful. They're an affiliate nationwide. And the email had this link to their recent study that they had conducted from 2020. And the study had not been done since 2009. So I clicked on it, opened it up, and it was 50 pages. And I thought, well, I'll just look at the first couple of pages. I'm not going to read all this. Well, the first page just was so shocking, I had to read it all. And what that first page showed was that on average, there are 50 billion, that's with a B, pieces of trash that end up on our roadway and in our waterway each year. So when I read that, I thought, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Here I am thinking we need this proactive approach. And here it is. Here's the reason why we have to have that. Okay. So I went to Parker and I said, hey, we got to do something about this. And he's like, okay. And it just so happened our director, she also, for other reasons, was like, hey, we need to look at our litter issue in the state. And so we were ready to go, and we started with this campaign, and that's how we got here. And we launched it last October at the Arkansas State Fair, and we had a really good turnout for that. So okay, my slides are a little out of order, so sorry, I'll have to jump around a little bit. So if you've ever been to an RDOT presentation or heard someone speak, I'm sure you've heard that we have the 12th largest highway system in the country. We have more than 16,000 miles that we have to maintain. That includes maintenance work, picking up litter, just anything that we have to do around the state. And that's a lot of miles. And we have limited funding, unlike some other states that have less miles than we do. And so we really try to look at ways that we can capitalize on the funding we have available. And we've talked about the litter inmate program, but also, our Adopt a Highway. It is a key component of this. And with this campaign, we hope to increase education and bring awareness to the real reason why litter is a problem. We see trash on the ground and it's ugly. We can see that, but it's more than that. It's more than, it just looks bad. It's not welcoming. It doesn't make our state look very good, but what are the harmful effects of it? Sorry, I just broke this. Sorry. No worries. Okay. So when we look at this report, it shows that there are approximately 2,857 pieces of trash per mile. Okay, so think of how many miles you drive to work every day. or to pick your kids up, or take them to sporting events, or whatever you do on a daily basis. Multiply those miles by how much trash is out there. And that gives you that overwhelming number of the issue with litter. So let's break it down even further. So that's 152 pieces of trash per person. So there's approximately 60 people in this class right now, or there was. That equates to over 9,000 pieces of trash just for every person in this room. Now think about all the people you come in contact with throughout the day, okay? The number just grows and grows and grows. So we're going to talk more about our Adopt a Highway program right now. It was signed into action in 1987 by our Arkansas Highway Commission, and it is a strictly volunteer program. We do not pay our volunteers. They do not pay us to participate. Okay, the only money that is associated with it is to purchase the supplies, the safety vests, the bags. We use the same materials that the inmate program uses. We do erect signage for the groups. It's for safety purposes and also to alert drivers, you know, there's people going to be picking up trash here. It's this next 1, 2, 3 miles of highway. The volunteers do pick up at least 4 times a year. They're welcome to do more than that, but we do require a minimum of 4 times. We currently have a little more than 900 groups enrolled in the program, and they pick up around 1,300 miles of highway. Now, we stated that we have 16,000 miles of highway, so there's definitely room for more volunteers. We get volunteers daily. They call, they ask for information. We send them the information, and sometimes they follow through and they adopt sections of highway. So that number does continue to grow. So in 2021, we had more than 1,800 hours spent, and our volunteers picked up more than 3,000 bags of trash. Now, those numbers are a little less than before COVID, but they are increased from 2020. And ironically enough, we did actually have a pretty good participation during COVID. You know, with it being outdoors, it was one of the activities people could do safely. And we did have a lot of participation during that time. Now, another large component to our litter maintenance is our RDOT crews. And as you can see in this picture, we've got some crews. This is from our Menifee area. And it was a pretty day. There was trash along the roadway, and they're out picking it up. Okay. Now, these are the same crews that also repair potholes and fix guardrails and any other type of maintenance work that needs to be done around the counties and the states. So it's frustrating to see that they have to spend the day picking up trash because someone couldn't just throw it away. $5 million. That's the annual cost that RDOT spends to control litter. And that's used in various ways. I already mentioned the Adopt a Highway supplies, the litter inmate program, labor costs for our crews to go out and do this. Okay. Now, we realize that litter is not going to go away completely. Okay. But ideally, we would love to see this number reduced down to maybe 3 million or 3.5 million. Just make small changes, decrease that number by either increasing volumes or just increasing awareness so that people don't throw their trash on the ground anymore and it has to be picked up. We have a litter hotline that you can call. This number went into effect in 2004, and since that time, we've had an average of 4,100 calls sent in yearly. So I'll just explain very quickly how this works. If you're driving down the road and you're behind a vehicle and you see them throw a Coke can out the window, you call this number, you make a report, you give them the license plate, the make and model of the vehicle, and that report goes to our Arkansas Highway Police, which is a division of RDOT. They then will send you a letter if you're registered that vehicle. And it's a nice little letter that simply states you were witnessed littering. These are the reasons why you shouldn't litter. And if you want to get involved, here's some different areas that you can get involved to, you know, not litter anymore. Sometimes they call back and they say, I did not litter. I want to know who did this. Well, it's anonymous, so we can't tell you anyways. So let's talk about the actual harmful effects of litter. So here we see a plastic bottle takes 450 years to decompose. An aluminum can, 200 years, cigarette butts, 10 years, and cardboard, 2 months. And the study also highlighted cigarette butts. They are the #1 and have been the #1 most littered item in the US. That's how it's always been. That's how it still is today. Now, the good news is this study did show a rapid decrease of cigarette butts. Okay, so in the 2009 study, it showed that there were 18.6 billion cigarette butts thrown out. The 2020 study showed that that number decreased down to 5.7 billion. So we've got two things here. We've got less litter and hopefully less smokers. So, and the second most littered product is plastic, candy wrappers, food storage, things like that, which is what we're all used to seeing on the side of the road every day when we drive. Now, in addition to the roadside litter, there's also around 26 billion pieces of litter that end up in our waterways, you know, our lakes, streams, oceans. And these are the areas that, you know, we like to go vacation at. We like to go to the beach. We like to go to the lake. But do we want to go and see a bunch of trash in the water? Well, no, definitely not. So how can you help? Well, the easiest thing, #1, is do your part. Recycle if you can. Recycle is becoming very, very prominent. There are recycle bins pretty much anywhere you go now. So take the time to recycle. If it's not available or you don't want to take the time, just throw the trash away. That's the message we're trying to get out, is just throw the trash away. Also, get involved. We talked about litter inmate. We have our Adopt a Highway program, which we're going to talk about now. Our Adopt a Highway program consists of various groups around the state. They can be church groups, businesses, individuals. We've got sororities, fraternities. We've even had some military branches that will adopt sections of highway. So throughout the years, we've had several different groups that will adopt. And even though we have a smaller amount of Adopt a Highway groups, they are very vital. Without them, there would be a lot more trash out on the roadways, and they do a really good job at what they do. So I've now got a video that was created by RDOT, and I'm going to attempt to play it on here. I hope it plays.
Arkansas has the 12th largest highway system in the nation. There are more than 60,000 miles of roadway to maintain and keep litter free. For every 1 mile of road, Arkansas averages 2,000 pieces of trash, which adds up to almost 32 billion pieces of litter each year. That's a lot of trash. RDOT's Adopt a Highway program helps address litter by allowing volunteers, such as individuals, groups, and organizations, to pick up trash along the highway. We really love our volunteers. With more than 900 groups across the state, there's an ongoing effort to keep Arkansas clean. Even with all those volunteers, RDOT still spends an average of $5 million a year picking up trash. So when you think about it, picking up trash isn't the problem. Littering is. That cigarette butt or soda can may seem harmless, but when it's all added up, the trash problem is overwhelming. Did you know that a cigarette butt will take 10 years to decompose? That one soda can, 200 years. And here's something else to think about. All of that trash that sits along the highway often gets washed into nearby streams, lakes, and rivers. The damage from a moment of littering is long-term and far-reaching. So what can you do to help? It's simple. Recycle when you can. If that's not an option, throw the trash away. Let's all do our part and keep it clean, Arkansas.
And I would like to let you know that if you would like to view that video again or share it with your peers or anyone else, this is available on our RDOT YouTube site. You can go subscribe to it. We've got a lot of other videos on there, but this is one of the ones on there. So just before I finish up, I do want to tell you about one thing that we are working on right now. We're developing a program where we'll partner with the cities to increase mowing and litter pickup. We're kind of targeting more heavily traveled interchanges and corridors around the state. That's kind of our phase one approach to that. Hopefully it's a success and we can expand throughout the state to more smaller communities, but really just getting the cities engaged more, and hopefully, you know, that result will be a good one. And it's something that is starting off with a small budget, and if it proves to be successful, hopefully we can get more funding put in there. So that's all I have. Thank you for listening. I appreciate your time. If you have any questions, I'm available, or if you would like for this presentation to be presented somewhere else, feel free to reach out to me. I'll try not to drop the remote next time. And I did bring one thing. We have these litter bags and they snap around the head seat of your car. And so I brought some of those. I'll leave them here and y'all can grab one before you go. And I think there'll be a few extras. So if y'all want to take a couple for each one of your vehicles, please feel free to do so. That's all I have. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I hope y'all enjoyed your lunch. I unfortunately could not partake in it. It's against my diet. Especially after all the Reese's eggs I took in this weekend. For some reason, the seasonal eggs, in my opinion, are much better than the regular cups. My name is Joseph Gorman. I am the jail administrator, chief deputy at the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. I'm here to speak on the inmate collection program. So we do not use our inmates for this program. Our court system has a separate thing that they sentence. Instead of giving them fines, they will work those off on what we call our clean team. So in order to qualify for this, you have to be 18 years of age. The judge orders them to this program with hours to complete or days to complete, and would have a date they had to be completed by. If the member does not participate or complete by the date ordered when the judge then takes alternative sanctions, including setting them up on time pay to get that money from them, or it could include jail time. If the member completes some of these hours, but not all by the deadline, then the hours completed are deducted from the total fine. We utilize these individuals that are sentenced or ordered to this clean team for multiple tasks. Female members of the clean team are mostly inside the facility, doing tasks such as laundry, cleaning common areas of the jail and the sheriff's office, sorting out commissary, and they help in the jail's kitchen. Male members of this clean team are utilized outside of the facility. To mow the grass around the facilities, help move items to storage that need to go throughout the county. But their main duty is to pick up the litter along the state highways. Of course, this is a program that they have already been talking about. RDOT would contact us on the highways that needed attention. At the end of each month, we would send a report in of all the highways we collected from that month. And we normally have 2 officers go with this group. Normally, we would get about 10 to 15 members a day to go out and pick up trash. They report to the jail at 7:30 and normally on the road at 8 o'clock in the morning. This program benefits us financially, but it's also good for the community. State highways are the areas that RDOT would pay the county for, but we took that a little farther and would have them pick up county roads and in the community. By doing this, the community benefited from this program greatly. We would also receive calls from citizens telling us roads that had litter on them, and we would add that road to our list. The COVID pandemic shut this program down for our agency, but we're looking at starting to back up very soon. And I've even still get calls, hey, this road needs picked up. Can y'all get there? All in all, this program is a win-win. It helps out the community by keeping it clean. The members of the clean team are from the community, and they see picking up the litter as doing something good for their community. Also, during the summer, it's hot. You're out there picking up trash for 5 to 6 hours. It might make you think twice about breaking the law that got you on the clean team in the first place, if that arises again. It gives the citizens a sense of gratitude, knowing their tax dollars are working for them by keeping their community clean, which in return leaves positive feedback from the community towards the judge and the administration department overseeing the program. That's all I have on it. Any questions y'all have? I would like to thank y'all for your time and for attending this seminar, and Ms. Kilgrove for inviting me to speak on behalf of the program. Thank y'all.
Thank you to all our trash presenters. Now's the time for questions for any of those presenters, if you have any. I've got some questions. What are some of the wildest things you hear about your crews picking up on the side of the roads that you can talk about in the public? We'll leave some trash talk.
Yeah, that's me. So I will say, when you conduct your cleanup under Adopt a Highway, you have to report that to us, and you can do that online or through a card. And there is a part at the bottom that states any interesting or hazardous items found. And we get a lot of, dirty baby diapers. So we get, unfortunately, they find needles out, those could be, a lot of coolers. One group said that their leader hid a bunch of $20 bills under some trash to see if they actually would pick it up, and they did. But tires, mattresses, furniture, nothing just crazy points out to me, but just a lot of trash. So, yeah. Anything else? Thank you. I live on a corner lot here in town in Little Rock, and we have a slope that's covered by some pretty heavy rocks, and people take that upon themselves to be their own personal dump site. So I do understand what you're talking about. There were some trees in it that we cut down, and once we cut down those trees, we found all the trash that had accumulated there over the years, and I'm talking some crazy, crazy stuff. Of course, all the beer bottles and beer cans, some contraception. Maybe the craziest thing I found was, ladies, you'll know when you go get your pedicures, those little disposable flip-flops they give you. I couldn't imagine why someone driving down the street in Little Rock felt the need right then, I have to get this flip-flop out of my car, and threw it into my yard. But luckily, since we took down all the shrubbery that covers it up, it's gotten better. But I certainly understand the need. I can't imagine people littering in this day and age anyway. It just seems like something you wouldn't even think of doing. Do they have to go through and pick up all the litter before they mow on those side streets? Well, so when the mowing contractors mow, part of their contract is picking up the litter before they mow. So, sorry, I can be really loud. They have to pick up the litter before they mow. So that is in conjunction with the mowing that they do 3 to 4 times yearly along the highways and the interstates.
Wow, that's really something to think about. I think this has been an eye-opening presentation. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And is Miss Taylor here? All right. Next up from ACC, we have Miss Elizabeth Taylor. I don't even need to look on the agenda to see what her name is. That one was memorable to me. So we'll give her a few minutes to get up and get her presentation set up. There you go.
Okay, so I noticed on the agenda this morning or this afternoon when I got here that I'm down for work relief. I didn't know anything about work relief. So what I actually prepared was community service, okay, which is also litter crew, which I guess it's a good thing I'm piggybacking off of RDOT here in Jefferson County. So I'm assuming everybody in here is like from the sheriff's office or clerk's office. Okay, so you guys are pretty familiar with community service and, okay, and put my glasses on here. So actually, I'm with the Department of Corrections, Division of Community Correction. And I am Deputy Director over Probation and Parole Services. So I supervise all of probation and parole, all the specialty courts, the drug courts, and the intensive supervision program, sex offender program. So actually, what we do is we offer 3 types of community service. Okay, just the regular community service. We do litter pickup, and then we do something called the county work program, which is probably what you guys are most interested in. This first little handout that the handout that is on here on community service hours worked. I do not, do most of you know what area probation and parole works in your area? Like Fayetteville is area 1, Fort Smith is area 5, Conway 6. Okay. I'll be happy to send a map just so that you guys kind of know. But anyway, I'm here on this little printout. It kind of gives how community service is done by each county and the offenders that are in your county, what they actually, the number of hours that are done and the reasons why they're done. Okay. So generally, the ones that are ordered by the judge, the 55,000 hours, that's actually the ones that they do in lieu of paying fines. Now, the way we work is that we do not allow offenders to do this unless the judge orders it, okay? Because we realize that that is money that is going to the counties to pay for whatever needs to be paid for in the county. So we take it very seriously that we don't allow people to work off fines unless it's actually ordered by the judge. Okay, you can actually just see on also on here how many do litter crew, how many are sanctioned by a judge or specialty courts. County work program. County work program has very little hours this is from January of 21 to March of 21 to March of 22. County work program, for those of you who don't know, it's kind of a cool program. The judge can order someone in lieu of going to jail to work the county work program. Each of the offices in the state of Arkansas have one of these set up with their judges. What they do is instead of putting somebody in jail for, say, a week, or putting them in jail for a week and saying, hey, you can serve it on the weekends, these people stay at home in the evening and show up at the jail for another location ordered by the judge, and they work all day for the county. Anybody here from Jackson County? No. Okay, so we had an instance in Jackson County where we actually had someone where the judge ordered them to work at the dump. Believe it or not, when he got done, the county liked him so much, they actually hired him as one of their employees. So where it works, it's been a pretty cool program. Now, with the last 2 years due to COVID, we haven't had a lot of people in the county work program, but historically we've had several thousand hours done in the county work program. If you're interested, I do have cards, I can leave them, and if anybody who's interested in the county work program for your county, feel free to call me and I'll hook you up with the person in that area that does it. Recommended by staff. If you're wondering what that is for those who are working to pay off their supervision fees that they owe to the state. Any questions about just this page right here? Okay. And actually, I also have it broken down by area if you just want to look on the other pages there. Okay, litter pickup is just another program. It's exactly like what RDOT does, except our people, you've probably seen the vans go out, they say ACC, Department of Corrections on it, some say Division of Community Correction on it, And we actually have community CPPSs, which are career placement and planning specialists that in most cases are armed. They're part-time officers. And they actually take a crew of people out to do litter pickup on the side of the road. And generally, it's a county judge, or it's usually a senator or representative that calls and says, hey, you know, right before Easter, I'd like to have this stretch of the road picked up. And it's usually roads that are not the highways. It'll be the county roads usually. Let's see, and just regular community service. Regular community service is where we send people out to work at the dog pound. We send them out to work at some local churches. They've done things for historical buildings. But they're generally supervised by a nonprofit organization. Any questions about any of that? Any questions for me in general? Any questions at all? After that, I hope nobody was thinking I was going to talk about work release, because I promise I don't know a whole lot about that. But if you have any questions about work release, I can get you answers. If you had any, nothing, no questions? Anything you want to know about probation or parole, or intensive supervision, or anything? Yeah.
Since you said probation and parole.
Yeah.
How can an inmate that owes fines get off probation without having his fines paid?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, absolutely. She asked, how can somebody who's on probation get off of probation without paying their fines? Okay, so the way you guys all know this, everybody in every county collects fines differently. Okay, some are in computers, some are still in the big, you know, the huge log books, yes. Some people have them on those index cards. There is no way for us to be able to say, okay, he owes fines in Garland County, he owes fines in Sharp County, Randolph County. We just don't know. In addition to owing fines at the circuit level, they also owe fines at the municipal level. Now, I don't know if you guys are aware that there is a subcommittee that was in this last legislative session on Act 1048 that is working to put together an entire statewide system. So everybody will be on the same system so that you can look, say, at Jackson County and see what fines they owe over there. And it's also, we're trying to get this where it will actually be that anybody, including probation and parole, can look at it and say, hey, this guy owes fines in 15 different areas. So anyway, and that is something that we're trying to go and get paid for and take the current legislature. But that is, I mean, and that's a huge problem. Because we may have somebody on supervision out of Garland County. They may pay that, but here's the other thing. There are some judges that require an offender to have up until the very last day that they're on probation to pay their fines. Okay, so our normal policy is that we try to do a revocation, or at least do an intent to go in front of the judge on somebody who owes fines 30 days before they get ready to discharge probation. The problem is that generally the prosecutor sometimes won't take it, or the judge says, hey, they got until the last day. I'm not here to trash talk anybody by any means. I just know that we do try very, very hard. We have in place what's called an EDC, or the discharge credits for offenders, that allow them, if they pay off their fines, along with some other requirements they have to do, without getting in any trouble, after 50% of their sentence, we can request the judge, with the prosecutor's consent, to get off supervision early. Okay, so we have put into place some incentives to try to get the offenders to pay their fines and get them off probation early. But yes, it's a terrible problem. And part of the problem is not a lot of courts, but there are some clerks that have new staff, and you call and you might get one answer one day and another answer be another day, and it, and part of it may be miscommunication on our part by asking the wrong thing. It's a terrible problem. It's terrible. It does happen.
You talk about a statewide system that everybody can participate on. Who would be in charge of that system? Who would be in charge of maintaining and running that system?
I should not have brought this up.
I opened a can of worms.
Well, so this is actually being chaired by Senator Dolby. And we have members of, everybody work here in Judge Singleton's court. Yeah. We have a number of judges who are on there. AOC is on the committee. We are, the Division of Community Correction is on there. We have several sheriffs. They work for Sheriff John Montgomery. Okay, he's on the committee. We have a number of people that are on that committee. We are actually trying to get it so that we're also working with, I believe ACS is on the committee also, but we are trying to get it so that, because we realize it's a terrible problem. Not just that, but we also have 2 counties in Blackfoot County areas, or divisions 1 and 5, that are also not part of the Division of Correction. And we don't even have, we don't even know with those 2 divisions in Blackfoot County about the fines there. So, but yes, I don't know all the details, but I can get them. I should know. But I'd be happy to get information on that. It's not a done deal. It's going to be millions of dollars to pay for that. Millions. Because we don't have anything. Any other questions? That time, like a dance or something?
I do have a question.
Yes, yes.
Since all this information is already in context or ICC, couldn't you put a program into that?
It's not. That's the problem.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Yeah, no. There are some counties, in fact, that don't even have contact. Yeah, no, it's okay. I mean, that's, yeah, they just don't have it. Because there's an expense, the county has to pay for it. So, yeah, not everybody has it. Most of the time we can go in context, but yeah, there's a lot of counties. I don't say a lot. There are several counties that do not have it at all. Well, I think we want to do something that's even more, it's even bigger than that. Because, yeah, we want to do something bigger than that. Any questions? I mean, does everybody think that's a good idea?
No.
Okay.
It's a good idea, but when it comes to the details, there's a reason why there's 17 different district court collection processes right now. Everybody likes their own, and change is hard. And I just got notification right now who is planning on running that system is Administrative Office of Courts, and their e-filing has been down all day. So it's a long ways off. I do know that. The counties have very good representation on that committee.
Okay, so are you on the committee?
I'm aware of the committee.
I'm on the committee. But yeah, I think you're right. I think it's a start. I think it's definitely something at some point we're going to have to go to because you're right. We have so many people who owe fines and owe not just fines, but it's restitution. And that's not even to the county. That's to the victim. And I mean that's huge. I mean, I take a lot of phone calls myself from people who aren't getting paid, and they're like, they owe me this, and I totally agree. Does that mean? I think so. I'm so embarrassed. Sorry, let me just turn it off. So, I'm so sorry. Anything else? I feel like I'm trying to pull stuff out of people. Y'all just want to take a long parade? Okay, I'll leave some cards up here. If anybody has questions, feel free to call me. If you are interested in the work program for your county, okay, feel free to call me and I will get you hooked up with the area manager or assistant manager that's in that county that can get those people set up for you.
And if you did not get a spreadsheet, there's additional copies back in the back tape.
Okay, thank you all.
All right, everyone's is ready. We'll get started on this, one of the last presentations here. This is on debtor's prison litigation and how debtor's prisons are not a good thing and something we want to avoid. So, when is it okay to jail someone for failing to pay a fine? So the jargon we have here is willful failure to comply with a court order after, and this is key, after a determination is made that the defendant has the ability to pay the fine. That is when it is okay to jail someone for not paying a fine. So what does that look like? I have a little example here. I know there's a lot of words on that slide. This is an example of contempt. So I found this case, Burrow versus JT White Hardware and Lumber Company. And so this is a 2018 case from the Arkansas Court of Appeals. So this Burrow guy, he really did not want to pay his judgment. So he willfully hid assets. He lied to the court. He said that whenever they tried to get a writ to get some of his property to satisfy his judgment, he said that it had been sold. He hid his property. And so the court held a hearing to try to determine, basically ask him why he should not be held in contempt. And he refused to testify at that hearing. He refused to produce any of the court's requested documents. He lied to his attorney about the reasons that he didn't comply with the order. And so because of all of that stuff that happened, he was sentenced to 20 days in county jail, fined $500, and was ordered to pay $10,000 in attorney's fees. So this is just an example, kind of a wild one, I admit, but of showing that the Court of Appeals found that evidence was sufficient to show that this debtor in particularly actively and knowingly interfered with the process of the court. So he was properly found to be in civil and criminal contempt. So the key here is that the court in this case held a hearing. They did hold that proper hearing to ask him why he had not satisfied his judgment, why he had not paid his fines, and asking him, why should we not hold you in contempt? And so he did have his day in court, as people say, and he just refused to comply with that. Another key here is that the additional fine and the jail time that the court imposed in this case was punitive. So basically it was to punish him for all of those willful acts of deception that he undertook. And it wasn't necessarily because he did not have the ability to pay his fine. So that's just kind of a wild example there. So we have prohibitions on debtors' prisons, not only from the United States Supreme Court, but also in our own Arkansas Constitution. So Arkansas Constitution, Article 2, Section 16 says that no person shall be imprisoned for debt in any civil action. So that's very important to remember. And we have a case coming out of the Supreme Court, which basically said that a court can't jail someone for failure to pay a fine without evidence that he was responsible for the failure. And so that kind of means exactly what I just said, that willful disobedience of a court order. So a recent case that just came out of the United States Supreme Court in 2019 said that the Eighth Amendment's prohibition against excessive fines also applies to state and local governments. So that means to your cities and counties as well. So not only can the federal government essentially get in trouble for imposing excessive fines, but so can counties and states and cities as well. All right, so going to some Arkansas cases. So we have this case, Godwin versus Godwin. This is an older case back in 1980. And essentially what happened in this case is that these are some family law cases, and it's talking more about child support, but it also applies to fines as well. And so the trial court ordered that the husband was required to pay $4,000 of a performance bond before he could leave the courtroom. And this was found to be improper. So essentially they said, we're going to hold you here until you can pay $4,000. They never gave him notice of that $4,000, and they never determined beforehand if he even had the ability to pay that $4,000. And so that's a situation in which it turns into sort of a debtor's prison. We're holding people for their lack of ability to pay their debt before we even know if they have the ability to pay that or not. And so then we also have another case, Stell versus Zimmer-Rebner. That's quite the name. I hope I'm saying that correctly. But again, it's just solidifying what we learned from Godwin versus Godwin. It's the same thing here, that imprisonment is only justified on the ground of willful disobedience to the orders of the court. And so once it becomes apparent that the defendant is either not willing or not able to comply with that court order, a hearing should be held, and it should be determined whether that defendant is not complying with the court because he doesn't have the ability to pay, or whether it's because of his own choices or his own willful disregard to pay the debt. All right, and so why does this matter for everyone in this room? I know this is kind of a topic that seems like it might not be applicable to your office, but it actually is, because imposing these types of criminal or civil contempt sanctions without providing someone that opportunity to have that hearing to determine if they have the ability to pay their fines and fees, it can open up your office and your county to liability, and that's something we certainly don't want. And so your knowledge as someone on the front line can really help in this type of situation. And so a best practice would be to just, before holding someone in criminal or civil contempt, make sure that the judge has taken into consideration the defendant's ability to pay the fine or fee. And if you yourself have information about this, or your office, definitely, you can present that to the judge, and you can kind of step in and say, well, this person has told me this and this and this circumstance. And this kind of harkens back to what we were talking about in my first presentation with that Act 1071 of the new requirements for the installment fees, where if someone doesn't have the ability to pay the fee in one lump sum, it would cause them a severe hardship. They can ask you or your office or whoever in your county or whatever entity is responsible for collecting fines and fees. You can hear their situation and lower that installment payment for 3 months. And so that's kind of where this comes in too, where your office is getting information that sometimes the court doesn't even have. And so just bottom line, main takeaway from this presentation is that a defendant should only be imprisoned for not paying a fine if he or she did not have the ability to pay, and that has been determined by the judge, and there's not a more effective punishment available. So that's just a quick and dirty presentation about how debtor's prison can open up your office to liability, and it seems obvious, but that is just for your information. So there we go.
Thank you, Cagney, and thank you again for all of your hard work that you have put into this. Both your presentations and the book and lining up all the speakers. Cagney was the woman for today, so I really appreciate her. There are a couple things in the book that we're not necessarily going to cover today, but I want to make you aware that they're in there. On page 19 and 20, there's a little segment for pay for stay, which has kind of fallen out of favor. Some of your counties may have done pay for stay before and gotten away from it. Some district judges have disallowed it in their districts, so something to be aware of, but not covered here today just for time and frankly lack of interest. The next section is about liens on property and when liens will attach on property due to failure to pay fines. So good information there as well. And then we've added some things to the appendix this year in the book, including forms, helpful forms to get you into the litter program, sample ordinances to be enacted. Again, if you would like to start the ArkTracks program, you can email me at lfrench@arcounties.org and I will get you a sample ordinance to pass in your county for that. Any more questions about anything you've heard so far? Okay, we will dive into the order of payment of fines, fees, court costs, and restitution. It's going to be at the very end of your book on page 33. When it comes to fine collection, this is probably the thing I get the most questions about on a weekly basis. This is what I get the most questions about. What fees can we put on installment payments? How many fees, totaling how much? When do we charge them and how are they dispersed? So I finally decided to just put it in the back of this book in a short little 2-pager that I hope is easy to understand, and we'll just go through it. And if you have any questions, just feel free to stop me throughout and Josh will get the mic to you. The first statute I want to draw your attention to is 1613-226, and it sets the order in which circuit court payments are to be applied. And that is court costs first until collected in full, then restitution, again, until collected in full, then fines until they're paid off, and then any remaining amounts due. There is also the identical statute for district court fines and fees. And for district courts, that order of payment is found in 16-10-209. But it's the same order: court costs first, then restitution, then fines, and finally any remaining amounts due. So far, so good? Okay. We'll move on to the specific fines and the statutes that allow those. Arkansas Code 16-13-704 sets forth 2 different $5 installment fees. So we're going to talk about 3 different fees, and 2 of them are found in this one statute. The first one allows the court to provide defendants relief from severe and undue financial hardship by ordering installment payment of fines. I've italicized that word because that is important. And in this case, the word fines means exactly what it says, fines. Through some parts of the code, fines means everything collectively: fines, fees, court cost, restitution. In this case, it just means fines. So it establishes a $5 installment fee to be assessed on each person who's authorized to pay a fine on an installment basis. That $5 is to be collected every month fines are owed. It accrues month to month. 1/2 of that is to be remitted by the 10th day of the month to the state AOJ fund. For circuit court, the other half is remitted by the 10th day of the month to the county treasurer to go into the circuit court automation fund. And that fund can only be used for circuit court related technology. On the district court side, that will go to the city treasurer to be deposited into the district court automation fund. again, used solely for district court related technology. So that is fee number one. Fee number two, established in the same statute, in circuit court only, to be assessed on the first day of each month. So again, it's a monthly fee on each person who is ordered to pay a fine on an installment basis, with the additional $5 to be remitted to the collecting official to be used to defray the cost of fine collection. So the second $5, it goes back to you, the office that is actually doing the collecting. Of course, your quorum court needs to know that and needs to appropriate that, just like they would any other money, but there's no wiggle room there. That $5 is to go back to you. So if someone owes fines, that right there is $10 per month in fees to be collected. $5 to go back to the agency collecting, the other $5 split evenly between the AOJ fund and the court automation fund. So far, so good? Yes.
So, I mean, it doesn't matter often, but what if the judge does not order any county fines, any order like jail fines or anything like that on the order? If it's just court costs and the restitution, does that mean no installment fees are supposed to be?
Good question. So the question was, what if in the rare circumstance, the judge does not order any fines? They only order that the person pay court cost and restitution. This would not be applicable then. You could not assess these two $5 fees to that because it is specifically for people paying on fines. Now, if there was restitution involved, that is a good segue into the third $5. You could charge this $5 one for people who owe restitution. And this one is found in 5-4-205. And it allows the court to provide defendants relief by authorizing installment payments of restitution. Again, it's a monthly $5 installment fee per month, in addition to the restitution and other assessments authorized. It does accrue. And like the second $5 fee on fines, this is to be remitted to the collecting official to defray the cost of restitution collection. So this one will also go back to your office. So if someone commits a crime, say it's theft of property, and they owe fines, fees, court restitution, and their booking fee, how much in installment fees can that person be charged per month? $15. If they have gone on and paid, their court costs have been paid in full, the restitution's been paid in full, they still owe fines and their booking fee, how much can be charged to that person? $10. Good job. Y'all already know all this. You think you don't, you call me with questions, second guessing yourself, but you know this. Okay, so in conclusion, payment should be applied first to court costs, second restitution, third to fines, and the remainder to any other amounts due. The two $5 fees in 1613-704 are assessed as long as someone owes fines, and the third $5 fee is assessed when someone owes restitution. So because restitution is paid second, once that restitution is paid off, all that's left is the $10 until their fines are paid. And that's all I have, unless you all have other questions about anything. Yes.
What do you think about all these acts that are being put on the citizens orders, like 1262, 770, now there's 13 something. They're all $5 a month.
Acts that have, say it one more time.
They're on the sentencing orders. You have Act 1262, Act 770, Act 13, it's 13 something, I'm not sure what that is, but they're all $5 a month. I'm not sure where they house.
I would have to see exactly what you're talking about. I'm not familiar off the top of my head. Mark, do you know, acts that,
That is the one with the contract with the prosecutor and the back.
yeah, I would,
The Act 1262 is the $5 for the fines or half goes to the state.
yeah, that is probably covered in Cagney's first presentation and in the fine collection generally. There's several different fees that are in that first section, but if you want to email me a specific example, I can certainly get with you on that and we'll figure it out.
They may be the things that you've already said here. Those factors.
It may. A lot of times the judges will put pursuant to act, and I don't think in acts, I think of the codified section, so. True.
Yeah, there's an Act 770 every other year.
It's true. Yeah, when you all get home and get back into the office, you're gonna have questions come up. So just feel free to reach out to myself or Cagney, and we're glad to help. Yes.
So I'm clear in understanding that if the restitution is paid in full and then the court cost and the fines are paid in full, then there's not going to be any of those monthly fees assessed, although they're still paying out the remaining amounts.
That's correct. That's correct.
They still have to pay the fine.
Yes, the question was if the court cost restitution and fines have all been paid, but they still owe other amounts, are there any fees left to charge? And the answer is no.
Got a quick question. Drug assessment fees, does also consider the looking DNA fees, et cetera. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
I do have a question. Does this also handle juvenile funds? Does this count for them as well?
I will need to look into the juvenile code to get you an answer on that. Are you talking about juveniles being tried as juveniles?
Yes, I also handle juvenile funds in my office. And so we were recently told by our prosecuting attorney that we're also supposed to be charging them these fees as well.
I haven't seen anything that does not charge the juveniles, so I would think off the top of my head that that would be correct. I also find it curious that we're charging juveniles fees at all, but I guess that's, or fines at all. But
never charged that before.
Uh-huh.
And in the last month, that's something new that we were told we were supposed to do. I believe so. I deal with the juvenile probation officer.
Yeah, that's probably that. What happens in a juvenile stage, sometimes there's a fee in order to help process a parent penalty, which is not $500 or whatever. It's a juvenile case, so it's totally different statute. That's what is that, I think that's what you're talking about.
yeah.
Starting for probation situation, but it's not a criminal facility.
I don't handle the probation side of it, but the problem is very good. We're also supposed to start on our juvenile.
So yeah, like Mark said, this refers repeatedly to criminal defendants, and generally those juvenile cases are not considered criminal. They're, yeah. Mhm.
She's charged with the fee of process. That other parents didn't have to pay. So tax was also paid, council and all that, which put it into a different fund, it's a totally different.
Okay. It really goes.
I questioned his thought process there.
And defer to the juvenile. I would defer to the juvenile judge on that as well. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you all for your attendance today. We appreciate you. I hope you gained at least some knowledge to take back and apply, and be safe on the roads, and hopefully the storms are behind us. Thank you.